Rooakhptah. Greetings, family. Today we're going to focus on, wow, this is a long time coming. The title of this video is Amunnubi, Rooakhptah, and Afroo OoNoo are one and the same. I'll do that again. Amunnubi, Rooakhptah, and Afroo OoNoo are one and the same. One and the same. This is a very important video, but it's also a disturbing video for us to do here at NoopooH.org. And a lot of it has to do with all this controversy on who Afroo OoNoo is.
Yeah.
Who Afroo OoNoo is.
Why is this even an important topic?
Yeah.
Who is that character? All that.
Yeah. Who is Afroo OoNoo? And this is going to be a very detailed video. Probably a little bit longer than we usually do because there's so much information. In fact, we can't even cover all the information that we would like to do, but we want to give people a good basis of the information in our arguments and while we're making our arguments. So one, I recommend this, and I recommend this to all our videos, but specifically for this video, if you have a comment, concern, a question, definitely watch it more than once. Definitely watch it more than once. Because you allow yourself to digest what we're saying, then go back, look at it again, gets more clarity on what we're saying, and that way, so when you respond and you have a comment, I think it will make appropriate. Right? Yeah, it make for a better comment. Like, I'll just say that, because specifically because of the nature of this video and because of how much information that we're going to try to put out and present, and it can be complex, and we're trying to take a subject matter that is complex for a lot of people and try to make it as easy, as mentally digestible as we can do. So that's what our focus is here. So why are we doing this? Well, we feel it's necessary for us to do this because, again, all the controversy pertaining to the subject matter is who is Afroo OoNoo? And the question is Dr. York Afroo OoNoo, or is Mr. Johnny Eugene Brown Afroo OoNoo? And for those who know about this subject matter, they'll know what I'm talking about. For those who don't have a clue what this is all about, then take your time, listen, and I think you'll get an idea of what this is all about and some background. Now, I will say this. Before you guys watch our video, I highly recommend go to the Prince York channel. Amunnubi himself, his name is Prince York, one of the children of the master teacher, who was also a Nuwaupian. He did a series of videos on this subject matter as well. He just put them out. He did, and they called the proof parts 1, part 2, and it's specifically part 3.
Yes, with the elder.
Yeah, that's an extraordinarily important video, and so I highly recommend everybody, before they listen to what we have to say on this same subject, listen to what Amunnubi put out there, Prince York, parts 1, parts 2, and especially part 3, because in part 3 we have eyewitness testimony that Dr. York is none other than Amunnubi Rooakhptah, because there were brothers and sisters who were there, physically there, and that's in our organization. And this individual, he's known as today Chef Otis, and I think his name at that time back then was Batin, I think he said his name was. And he said he came into the information in 1967 is when he took his Shahada. So this is the time frame where Amunnubi, aka Dr. York, was being known as Amunnubi Rooakhptah. So it's the eye test.
We definitely appreciate the elder gratefully for putting that out. For someone who actually walked, lived, and talked with him.
He has physical experience. Exactly. As we keep saying in our videos, The eye test. Seeing is knowing.
Eye test.
Seeing is knowing. Someone was there. So all of those individuals, aka Tarnoon, who do you have that was physically there as an elder, that was an eyewitness when Amunnubi was doing his thing? Because obviously the Nuwaupian nation has an eyewitness. And I'm sure there's more than one eyewitness at that time. I would think, especially for someone like that brother, you would have thought he's in New York too. I'm like, you thought you would have tracked these individuals down to find out, hey, you know, who was with Dr. York in the 60s. You know, find out who those individuals are. There has to be other individuals. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of them are passing away. A lot of these people are dying off, unfortunately. But there's got to be somebody still around. Obviously, we know the brother Chef Otis, he's around. There's got to be others who are eyewitnesses. Rather than going, you know, rather than where the brother went with it. So, I just want to say that. Also, the other video I do recommend that's also on this subject matter is people go check out the brother Malachi's Disciples. Malachi Disciples, his YouTube page, and he addresses the Afroo OoNoo. He's actually been battling those guys. He's been
intellectual.
Yeah. He's been battling those guys on this whole issue, and so he had a brother that Khensu is the brother's name, I believe.
Khensu, that's right.
Khensu.
Khensu.
Yeah, Khensu. And that brother does, I guess it's about an hour long on Malachi's Disciples YouTube page, and he addresses this whole Amunnubi Rooakhptah versus Afroo OoNoo. Now, here's where we're going to be different. We're different insofar as most Nuwaupians will not say that Amunnubi Rooakhptah and Afroo OoNoo is one and the same.
No, you won't hear that.
No, they're not going to say that because, well, simply because Nuwaupians really haven't read the information called The Nature of Nature that was put out by Afroo OoNoo. And that's what our video is about. Our video is about, as you listen to the name, Amunnubi Rooakhptah is Afroo OoNoo. And I've been saying this.
They are one and the same, yeah.
Well, I've been saying this since, so again, I've been a student teacher of the master teacher since 1989. So I'm not some new kid on the block. So that's one, right? 30 years in this. At 30 years, 30 years in the game.
Yeah.
So I've been walking with the masters since then. Now, obviously, the brother Chef Otis, he predates me by over 20 years. Yeah. In fact, he came into this before I was even born. That's what's insane. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't even born. It's 67.
50 years strong.
Yeah. I'm like, you can't, you know, that's priceless, man. I have individuals who walk in, who's a part of a culture for that long. You can't take away what their eyes have seen. You can't take away what my eyes have witnessed.
That's what we talk about, the experience test.
Yes.
How valuable that is.
Yes. 30 years. I got 30 years. And then I got exposed to the nature. You know, it's funny because I got exposed to the 9-ball, Bible interpretation and explanations, and the nature all in the same year, all in 2006. Prior to that, I never read that stuff. You know, I never read it. So all of that stuff came to me in 2006. Deep.
Yeah, that's serious.
Right?
Yeah, all in one shot.
Yeah, first I got hit with the 9, and it was by different individuals. One brother hit me with the 9-ball. You know, and I got that, and then I got hold of the same.
Saying, they was all within the doctrine too. That's another thing. It was circulating within.
Brothers brothers in the doctrine had this information, but I wasn't around those individuals who had that. So, and then I somehow got around those types of individuals, and they was like, "Yo, did you ever heard of the Nama?" I'm like, "Nah." You know, it's so sad because it's in the books. It's like the master put in the books, but you know, I didn't pay attention. Plus, I knew it was, you know, it would have been old, and I wasn't thinking about it. But I didn't know the potency of the information. Yeah. So again, I got hold of it in 2006, and then another brother introduced us to the nature. And so, and the same year, so I got a hold of that in 2006, and it was, you know, took off from there. So I've been studying that particular part of our doctrine since 2006. So now, what, wait, 2018?
Yeah, 12 years.
Yeah, March 2018. So 12 years. I've been studying for 12 years. So that's just to give my credentials as far as someone who's been in this. And we'll show pictures of me, you know, just so people can see. We'll show pictures of me when I was an Ansar, and the pictures of that I took pictures. You can see the pictures I have of the what was it? The masjid.
Yeah.
I took a picture of the masjid.
The Tensa Kedar.
Yeah, you see that when we had the bookstore, the Tensa Kedar. It's still a bookstore today, right? And that picture, when y'all see that picture, I had to take that in like 1989. This is when I lived in Bushwick. I was living.
89. Okay.
Yeah. No, 1990. Yeah, okay. 1990. I took that picture, probably, or it is. Well, it was either the winter. Yeah, it was either winter of 1989 or the winter of 1990. It was winter because it was cold. Because the brother was out there. I got a picture.
Yeah, I seen y'all got your long jacket. Y'all got the jackets over your jelly.
It was cold, so you can see that. You can see the picture. I'll show you the picture. Let them see the picture with Khalik.
Okay.
He was one. He's one of my mentors. Khalik, because him and I used to pedal in the train station in West 4th Street, basically.
In the other picture, Saifuddin was out there too, right?
Yeah, I got a picture of Saifuddin to show him, so y'all can see Saifuddin. He was the individual. Saifuddin's wife used to make my jalabias. Okay. So I used to get my jalabias from Saifuddin. So y'all can see that and show a picture of them. So again, these are pictures I took, so y'all can see those pictures now, right? I took those pictures. So
put time in.
Yeah, I was there with my jalabi on in New York City making freaking salat. In the train station I did it, but I had my table. You see a picture of my table. Okay. That how it used to sell. Basically, sell the stuff.
Yeah, all the books and the incense and oils.
So that's history. So you can't take nothing away from people's experience. Yeah. That's priceless.
When somebody's hearing and reading about it and you're walking it, nothing really to say.
Yeah, especially when this argument is about history, our history and our origins.
Sure.
And what we did. That's what this whole discussion is that we're about to get into. This is about our history. So it wouldn't make sense to talk to people who were there. Who experienced these things, who knows from experience, not Johnny come lately, who wasn't there. Individuals who weren't there, you can't speak from your own personal experience. You can only go on hearsay.
And that's all we've been hearing.
Yeah, that's all we've been hearing. So it's important that, especially when you're dealing with subject matters like this, what we're about to address, it's important to get as much authenticated evidence as we possibly can when we're dealing with this subject matter. So I just wanted to make that clear. So, and why we're doing this. So I repeat, check out Amunnubi's
The Proof.
Yeah, his YouTube videos.
Chris York channel.
Yes, and that's addressing this whole same subject. Who is Amunnubi Rooakhptah, and they clean that up. I hope they cleaned it up. Yeah, they
shed some light to.
For the intelligent ones among us, it should have been clean. It should be a done deal. And then, as well as the Malachi disciple, so I want to shout him out for his work.
With Khensu.
And with that brother Khensu, listen to that lecture, because I think it was a good lecture. Where we're gonna do is we're gonna clean up some of the things that even Nuwaupians aren't familiar with because they didn't read the Nature in Nature.
So we're gonna dive into detail about how the nature itself shows who Afroo OoNoo is.
Oh, indisputably. So we're gonna go detail by detail, as much as we can. Of course, we don't want to bore people. We don't put no one to sleep. But this is important information, right? It's important information, and unfortunately, because this brother made it an issue. The brother Tarnu, unfortunately, he made it an issue. He's been pushing this, man. He's been dogging us out with all these crazy videos and all these really sad and nasty things he said about us in the organization, and all the slander that he puts at us.
And obviously we've seen there's been people been unfortunately misled because they're listening to someone. who doesn't have all the facts and don't want to address them.
Yeah, I don't. First of all, this video is dedicated to all the Nuwaupians out there. It's dedicated to the truth, and it's dedicated to people like Rooakhptah, who's been duly influenced, falsely influenced with misinformation. So anyone who knows Rooakhptah, please have him watch this video, because I reached out to that brother. And I told him. I told him. It's a way, because when he did that video, he did the video about the difference between Dr. York and Mr. Brown. And Dr. York is the spoken one, and Mr. Brown is the quiet one, and blah, blah, blah. And Mr. Brown is Afroo OoNoo, and Dr. York is Amunnubi, or whatever he was saying. I was like, my brother, that's incorrect. It's incorrect. And he brushed me off. That's sad. A young brother, you have someone who's saying that that's incorrect. At least hear the individual out, because I would have personally taken my time to explain to him all the facts, because he was just like, no, it's already been proven. And I'm like, what proof? It's like, what proof? Wait. It hasn't been proven. Nothing's been proven. Just been a lot of talking, but no proof. So. And obviously, what is the proof with this? Who is Afroo OoNoo? The argument comes back to, and where are they getting this from? Where's Tarnoon getting this from? Obviously, two entities, right? Mr. Johnny Brown's wife is the main source of that, right? Because of the conversation, I heard it, right? So, my husband is Afroo OoNoo, and then the guy, he said, Royal, who was selling the books that Mr. Brown was selling the Nature books with. So that guy was saying, yeah, that's Afroo OoNoo. So that sounds like some credible evidence.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it.
And it would be credible evidence if it wasn't contradictory evidence to what Mr. Brown has to say on the subject matter. And that's the problem we have right here. Because Mr. Brown says one thing, his family says something else. So what do we do with that? What do we do?
A reasoning person would think you would take the individual who is credited for being the source to begin with. You take his word on it.
But Tarnoon don't accentuate that point. He doesn't push that point. He doesn't push that the family is contradicting what Mr. Brown has to say in that subject matter. And they got people believing that Mr. Brown, that's what, going back to the Amunnubi video, where you listen to the Chef Otis.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a little upset because he's thinking that because he's saying he knew Mr. Brown.
Yeah, according to him, he knew him. He said they had a relationship. They used to go back and forth from New York to Jersey.
He's thinking that Mr. Brown took information from the master teacher and put out books on his own and created his own little thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And it seems like, at least to us on our research, that it's not his fault either. It's just people taking this and running with it and taking it out of context. What's really
let's deal with that. So now let's address the Mr. Brown scenario. Okay? In addressing this Johnny Eugene Brown scenario, as far as who is it exactly? Is Johnny Eugene Brown Afroo OoNoo? And so we really want to address that. That's the most important thing, I think, initially to tackle. Where's this all coming from? Obviously, this was coming from Tarnoon and the Nuwaupu, right? Who are pushing that Mr. Brown is Afroo OoNoo. And why? Why is Tarnoon doing this? Well, because Tarnoon is the spearhead. He has two sources. First source is Mr. Brown's wife. Mr. Johnny Brown's wife, allegedly, apparently, right? She's on audio saying that my husband is Afroo OoNoo, correct? And so that's some strong evidence, right?
It would seem so, yes.
Yeah. And then you have the other individual, I think, who led Tarnoon to the wife, and that is the shopkeeper, Mr. Royal, who was selling Mr. Brown's book, and according to Tarnoon, he said they was working with each other for 15 years. So it's like he should know who this guy is, right?
He said he was selling the nature books.
Yeah. So now that's the evidence that he's standing on. That's his whole platform, is the testimony of Mr. Brown's wife and the testimony of an individual who was selling the books. And that would be some excellent testimony if and what they say is, if was a fifth. if Mr. Brown himself corroborated their story, then that would make sense. Then there would be no argument. But where's the argument come into play? The argument comes into play is Mr. Brown contradicts what his wife has to say on the subject matter. Mr. Brown contradicts what the shopkeeper, Mr. Royal, has to say on the subject matter. It's a contradiction. Mr. Brown doesn't say what the wife says. Mr. Brown doesn't say what that shopkeeper says. So now you have what Mr. Brown has to say on that subject matter, and you have these other two individuals and what they have to say on that subject matter. And so this is where the problem comes. And now the audience, the listening audience, because I went over this with Tarnoon. Okay, I went over this, and we'll put up some of, let them see the transcript that I went back and forth with him on this subject matter.
Yes, we've had. Multiple discussions with him.
So, but he can't get it. So it's up to you guys. Since people didn't want to do their own research, I've been studying this thing from 2006. I already knew who Afroo OoNoo was. Okay, and we're gonna get into that as well, because it's very important to address, because there's so much to address, because Tarnoon put so much information out there. And so I can't address all of it, but we're gonna try to address enough of the issues so that people are clear, and then people can do their own research so that they can see the facts will speak for themselves. And that's all we're here to do, is present the facts let the truth speak for itself. And what I accuse Tarnoon of doing is one-sided. He's biased. He's only looking for things that proves his point and not looking at the whole picture. So all he's concerned about, if it sounds like it proves his theory, that's all he's going to go with, and he's going to ignore anything that contradicts his theory. And that's not scientific.
No, that's not what the nature teaches.
No, that's not scientific. I'm like, no. That's not what a noonie boo's supposed to be.
No, you're supposed to look at the whole picture. Why we even had a nature to look at the whole of nature.
Yes.
Get all the story.
Let's look at the whole picture before we come to any conclusions. Any conclusions. There's too many holes in your story, Mr. Noon. There's too many holes in it. That's why we're gonna be poking holes in your whole theory all day today. We're gonna just obliviate it, in fact. Okay? It's already been obliviated with Amunnubi, I'll be honest with you. Because, real quick, all you gotta do is, if Dr. York is Amunnubi with Rooakhptah, which then proves that he wrote Bible interpretations and explanations as well as the 9-ball, anyone who studies, and we're gonna show this, anyone who studies the 9-ball and Bible interpretation and explanations knows that the nature and the 9-ball are exactly the same information, written exactly by the same author, and the nature is nothing but a continuation of the 9-ball. In fact, the nature can be considered the 9-ball parts 5 and part 6.
And 7 and 8, yeah. That's right.
It can be considered that, okay? Yeah. And we're going to show that. We're going to prove this. We're not just coming up with something. We're going to show this so that people can see that it has a pattern to it, okay? So now, let's go back to Mr. Brown. So, we're arguing that Mr. Brown, and Tony knows this, and I've been debating with him, but he don't care. All right, so since he doesn't care about all the facts, we're going to present all the facts to the public. Here's what the public has to get clear on. The Nature has 4 books. Okay? 4 books that were put out. And this is important. The first book that you guys can see is called Are You Searching for Knowledge? So you guys, the audience, y'all can see what that book looks like. This was the first book that was put out. Now, this book was published in 1993. Dates are everything. Remember the dates. This is why I say watch our video more than once, because these dates, as you get into this subject matter, those dates are going to keep coming back. They're going to be extremely important to proving our theory. Not even theory. It's going to be proven. It's going to be proven to the facts. Okay. So now that's the first book publication that came out in 1993. Are You Searching for Knowledge? And then we have Introduction to the Nature Book 1. That came out also in 1993. So you guys can see that book. That came out in 1993. So, then we have, after that, Book 2. To the Introduction to the Nature of Nature. Book 2. That came out 2 years later. In 1995. So you guys can see that, what that book looks like. 1995. Now, according to the book, it actually was finished in 1994. Published in 1995. In fact, it said it was published in February, to be exact, of 1995. Right? So you guys can see that. And then a year later, 1996, the last book, which was called The Transcript to the Nature of Nature. You guys can see that. The Transcript to the Nature of Nature. And that was published in 1996. And that came out, and it came with a companion CD. It might have came with a companion cassette, because I got a CD, right? I got a companion CD, but you were talking about 96.
Yeah, 96.
So I mean, it could have. I had DVD. I was in the computer industry.
Okay.
So I was selling DVDs. It could have had a DVD. I mean, that was pretty advanced for that time, that day and time. Not a DVD, but a CD. Audio CD. So that was possible. So it came out with a companion, whatever. Let's add the companion CD. Okay? So the way the transcript works is you have the transcript, which was an explanation to the Nature books, part 1 and part 2. That's what the transcript was about. It was written to make books 1 and 2 a little bit more clear. That's why I was
explaining some of the details.
Yeah, it was explaining some of those points a little bit more clearly on the subject matter, right? So it had the actual transcript that came with an audio CD. And this is how, I only presume, this is one of the reasons how Tarnoon was able to figure out who Mr. Brown was. Because Mr. Brown is the individual on the audio CD. Okay? So now that brother Kensu, who was on Malachi's Disciples YouTube channel, who was talking about this, he didn't know who that was. So now you know. So anyone, let the brother Kensu know that that's Mr. Brown talking. That's Mr. Johnny Brown talking. Now, here's what we're going to do. Now that the public knows this, and Tarnoon knows that.
Tarnoon uploaded that video, that same cassette audio.
He sure did.
That's where this actual debate started.
Yes, please. People, go to Tarnoon's website and look up
the YouTube channel.
His YouTube channel. Look up where he puts the audio tape up.
Yeah.
He puts the audio, and you're gonna see my debate. Actually, my debate is under my brother's screen name. What's your screen name?
That's I'm not sure if that's the 9-9 Creations or
no,
if that's Jesser. I don't know if it's under Jesser or if it was just under NoopooH.
No, saying something Ray. You had something.
Oh, Rayu. He had me at Rayu.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
Rayu.
yeah.
Rayu. That's right. I got that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Rayu 9.
Rayu 9. I was the one talking on your screen name. Yeah. So me and Tarnoon are going back and forth. Cause he put it out. He put it out. He put it out. I was like, now you know good and well what Mr. Brown has to say on that. And I confronted him on that. And you people can read his response. One, he's nasty. He's negative.
Name caller.
He's a name caller, and
super sarcastic.
Yeah, and he's very sarcastic. And come on, man, this is about people's souls. You don't have to do all of that. If you're out here trying to save souls, you're supposed to be sincere. Everything you do is anti-NoopooH and Noon. Nothing, your behavior does not represent what Noon represents, which Noon deals with the positiveness of things. There's nowhere in Noon says you need to get nasty and be as disrespectful as you've been to the Nuwaupian nation, as you continue to do. Okay? So that's another telltale sign to the public out there that he does not represent what he claims he represents, what his behavior. Anyone who studies what Noon knowledge teaches, doesn't teach what he's doing. But anyway, let's keep it moving. So now you know that the transcript that we're talking about, and that came with the audio CD, that's Mr. Brown's voice.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Brown's voice. I heard that back in 2006.
Yeah. It's very distinctive because it's, you could tell he's from the South, which is,
It tells you, yes. So now Mr. Brown, now here's what we're going to do. Let's let Mr. Brown tell the audience for himself who he is, and guess what he else is going to do? He's also going to tell you who Afroo OoNoo is. He's going to give you the first clue to who Afroo OoNoo is, okay? Because the whole CD is, he's reading the whole transcript. All you got to do is get the little transcript. He's reading every paragraph word for word.
And we'll put it up while you're listening to him.
Yes. So now we're gonna allow you guys to listen to Mr. Brown, because that's him speaking now. Now you have Mr. Brown speaking, and he's gonna tell you who he is. He ain't gonna tell you that he's Mr. Brown. He's gonna give you who he is, right? He's gonna tell you who he is.
His African Eastern name,
right?
They would say.
He's gonna tell you who he is, and that's in paragraph 1. And then he's gonna go to paragraph 2, and he's gonna tell you who Afroo OoNoo is. And here's the point. This is very key. He repeats it twice. Okay? This is a very important point for people to remember, because it's how can I say? He repeats it twice because it's important for him to repeat it twice. In fact, he tells you
in the beginning.
Right, he tells you in the very beginning why he's repeating it twice. Okay? So pay attention. So play that now.
Isn't the reason. The repeats of this information found in this literature are intentional for the purposes of clarity, memory drill, and emphasis on the points having already been made. This information I am about to read is a series of questions and answers designed to impart vital liberation information to the African race and those who listen and learn. And this vital information is called Introduction to the Nature of Nature. Introduction to the Nature of Nature is likewise known as Noon, which is the science of sound right reason. Let it be known. Question: who is the reader of this presentation? Paragraph 2. Listen to reason. The reader of this correct information is Nuwaupu, and I am one of the chief representatives of Afroo OoNoo, NoopooH, and Noon. And for the benefit of the listening audience, Nuwaupu is spelled Nubii and Repoo. And Nuwaupu is indeed a member of the African race, also called the Ethiopian race. And for the benefit of the reading public, the name Nuwaupu is pronounced Nuwaupu. Of course, all us kinky-haired people are racial relatives by race and nature. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known. Question: who is the writer of this presentation? Paragraph 3. Listen to reason. The writer of this correct information is Afroo OoNoo, who is the philosopher, writer, and messenger of NoopooH and Noon. And for the benefit of the listening audience, Afroo OoNoo is spelled Afroo and OONOO. Afroo OoNoo is originally from the Sudan in motherland Africa, and he definitely is a member of the African race, also called the black race. You personally need to know the writer of this positive knowledge, not nearly so much as you need to know this correct information he has written. And for the benefit of the reading public, the name Afroo OoNoo is pronounced Afroo OoNoo. The writer repeats, all us kinky-haired people are racial relatives by race and nature. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known.
So now, you guys have listened to it. You've heard Mr. Brown himself say who he is. He tells you he's Nuwaupu. He not only tells you that he is Nuwaupu, but he also tells you that he's the chief representative of Afroo OoNoo. So he's making a distinction. Where's my transcript at?
I was gonna say, what is a representative?
Right. He's making the distinction for those. Again, guys, you get access to the transcript because it's in. All he's doing is he's reading from the transcript. But here's my point. Well, that was what paragraph. That was paragraph 2. Paragraph 2, where he tells you exactly who he is. And then he goes into paragraph 3, and he's telling you who Afroo OoNoo is. Now, think about this. Remember, this came out in 1996.
Yeah, after the first 2 books
Yes,
comes out.
1996. So now, This came out in 96. He's telling you Afroo OoNoo is from the Sudan in motherland Africa.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we all know, go get Mr. Brown's, we're going to put up Mr. Brown's obituary. Okay? In the obituary, and that's the other thing, in the obituary, they're saying that he's Afroo OoNoo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we all, and I keep saying this to Tarnoon. I said, because Tarnoon, Tarnoon uses the obituary as also evidence.
He sure does.
And we're going to read from the obituary, and y'all will see for yourselves if Afroo OoNoo and Johnny Eugene Brown were one and the same. Alright, here we are at the Johnny Eugene Brown obituary. You can see it on the website, tributes.com. And it has memories and candles. You can see all this other stuff. So we're going to get to the part where it starts reading, and it says, Johnny Eugene Brown was born on November 23rd, 1926 in Oliver, Georgia. Johnny Eugene Brown was born on November 23rd, 1926 in Oliver, Georgia. Oliver, Georgia.
And I keep explaining to him, Tarnoon, Mr. Brown didn't write his own obituary.
He couldn't have it.
Right?
No one does.
Right?
No one
does. So how's that evidence for Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown didn't put that out. So obviously his family keep pushing. And now we'll address with the family situation, but let's focus on Mr. Brown. Now, when you look at the obituary, it tells you where Mr. Brown is from.
It sure does.
He's from Georgia.
He sure is. And anyone who listens to the audio, you can definitely hear it. He never lost his accent.
Yeah, you can hear the southern accent. He ain't no Sudanese. That ain't no Sudanese accent, right? And so, but what's Tarnoon's excuse?
Well, they twisted and ad-libbed what that means.
Listen to reason. The philosopher, writer, and messenger of this correct information was born with the given name of Johnny Eugene Brown. He was born Caucasian Christian year, November 23, 1926, in Oliver, Georgia, to the late John Howard and Daisy Lou Brown. He was the youngest of 11 children born out of this sacred union. After a rich and fruitful life, Johnny made his abrupt but peaceful transition from this earth plane on Caucasian Christian year, Tuesday, May 3rd, 2011, at approximately 4 o'clock a.m. He was originally meaning in terms of ancestry and lineage from the Sudan in motherland Africa, and he definitely was a member of the African race also called the Black race.
He altered. He said
altering words about
he said
what Mr. Brown is
he
saying.
said no. Everyone's from the Sudan. Read the
We'll put that up. Matter of fact,
yeah.
We'll put.
I'm like
we screenshot it. We'll put that up.
Is there a problem with reading comprehension? I think a third grader can read paragraph 3, and it makes a distinction. It's not just in paragraph 3. He repeats it. What paragraph is that in? No, he repeats it in paragraph 46.
46, okay.
So he repeats it in paragraph 46.
And matter of fact, read that, and we'll put the words.
Yeah, it
up on the
says
screen. You can read
here.
it.
This is paragraph 46. He goes on to say, the orator or speaker and reader, it says in parentheses, is the positive of this positive information is Nuwaupu. So he says the orator, the one speaking, I'm Nuwaupu, right? Mm-hmm. The one who's speaking is Nuwaupu. And he goes on to say, a chief representative of NoopooH and Noon. So he's a chief representative of NoopooH and Noon, he says. He says, and I am an Ethiopian by race. So he said, I'm a black man, right?
That's right.
Then he goes on to say,
that's right.
Then he goes on to say, the next sentence, the writer of this correct information is an Ethiopian or African by race likewise. Let's do that one more time. He goes on to say, the writer of this correct information is an Ethiopian or African by race likewise. And then he goes on to say, and he is originally from the Sudan. From the Sudan. And guess what else he says?
What?
In motherland Africa.
Inside.
So now he has Sudan, the country.
That's right.
The motherland Africa, the continent. So you got the continent. Let's put that map. I guess he's had
we said we have to start speaking and putting maps up for people. So we show them locations.
Yeah.
And show, you know.
He's like, so now you have Africa and the Sudan in it. Y'all
right.
see that?
That's right.
And that's where the writer is from.
That's right. Who is not speaking? The orator is speaking.
The orator is speaking.
The writer's not speaking.
Now here's the thing. What does this tell us? Us exposing all this. What does this show? Now you guys are hearing the facts, the truth, and we just getting started.
We just barely
getting started. This was the obvious stuff
that we tried to confront him on, or just address with him peacefully.
This was the obvious stuff. This was like no brainer. Like I'm like, come on now. When I heard that when I heard it back in 2006, I was like, okay. Who's it?
That's all right.
I just knew. I said, wow, you know, because I knew it was a master. I said, man, where the master get this guy from? I said, wow, he got what he said, this brother. I was deep. It was interesting to me. And I said, okay, it's from the South. You can clearly hear it's from the South. And no disrespect to Mr. Brown. And I want to repeat this. This is no disrespect to Mr. Brown. No disrespect to Mr. Brown's family. They have nothing to do with this. They honestly have nothing. They're not pushing this stuff like that. Okay, so this is Mr. Brown. We all at NoopooH.org sincerely hope that he rests in peace, and he's with the ancestors. He's with the Nuwaupu.
And honor his contributions to this mission as a whole.
Yes, I'm here to say clear up, because when you're listening to like other Nuwaupus like Chef Otis, he's thinking that Mr. Brown just took some information and ran with it and put it out, and he didn't do that. According to Mr. Brown, he's Nuwaupu, and he was representing Afroo OoNoo. Okay? So he's only acting on behalf of Afroo OoNoo, according to the information, according to what he put out. Obviously, him and Afroo OoNoo, they got something going on, right?
Some kind of, you know,
they have a serious relationship going on, where he's obviously Mr. Brown was responsible as the chief representative, putting the information together, right? Putting it out. No different. Guess what? It's no different than what's going on now with the assistants, with the office.
Yeah. You have secretaries, you have people who, you know, work as assistants and put stuff out.
They're doing it now.
Yeah.
That's how an organization operates. The master teacher has been operating our organization like that for years now, for decades, where he has the concepts and the ideas, he puts it together, he gives it to them, they compile it, they take the main points, compile it into the book, and then they put it out. That's what's going on today.
Yeah. How many times have we seen the master's written letters or just written anything? Someone else types it for them.
They compile it and they put it out. So I don't know what the relationship between Mr. Brown and his wife and why she thinks that her husband is Afroo OoNoo. We don't know. We're gonna kind of try to get into that, but obviously there's a contradiction there. But here's my point. After you guys heard this, you heard what Mr. Brown has to say, who he is. He tells you who he is. Then he tells you who Afroo OoNoo is. He makes a distinction between himself and Afroo OoNoo. And then he tells you where Afroo OoNoo is from. Now, remember the dates. This book came out in '96. Because I want them to say, yeah, but Dr. York is talking about Ghana. Why do you want to bring up the Sudan? Because we know in '96, we all thought that the master teacher was from the Sudan, was born in the Sudan. He pushed it. Everyone know he pushed that, especially in 1996. Yeah. Everyone knows. So I don't want to hear this Ghana thing come up. So don't let them try to get you with that. So because it was common knowledge in 1996 about the fact that the master was from the Sudan. He was from the Sudan. So that should be the end of our discussion. We should be.
It should be. But obviously, like it wasn't the end of the discussion on that YouTube channel. I
don't get it.
It can't be the end of the discussion here, unfortunately.
But people, look at what he's trying to do. He's twisting
Mr. Brown's words.
He's twisting this whole Sudan, Africa stuff. They put out a whole video doing that about.
Matter of fact, we should play that too.
Yeah, let them see that.
We'll play that clip.
Yeah, his ancestry is from Africa. Sudan. I'm like, the books. Let me just say this: the books speak against that behavior. The books speak against that behavior. What they're doing is they are reinterpreting what the books have to say on that subject matter. In fact, let's go to that. If you go to...
And we'll have it up on the screen, the words for you.
Let's see. Book 2, The Nature of Nature. Book 2, paragraph... Let's do this. Book 1, paragraph 335. Book 1, paragraph 335. And where we are? Book 1, paragraph 335. And I'll read it. And you guys can read it along, right? And you can see what paragraph 335 has to say on that subject. On that topic, I should say. Listen to this. Paragraph 335, it says this. Hence, the mental resurrection of nature is universal spring. That goes on to say. The mental resurrection of nature. The mental resurrection of nature is universal spring, gradually coming out of universe winter and causing the persons and things of nature to indeed sprout and grow new life and new law and order via 9 reason and novenary nature knowledge, right? Then it goes on to say, therefore, do not expect this book, right? This book, part 1, the Nature, book 1. Do not expect this book, to read like a novel or a book of fiction, for it is a book of knowledge and learning, right? Then it goes on to say, and thereby has many repeats of information. So it's telling you that this book purposely repeats information, right? Then it goes on to say, another thing, take this book of science literally. Take this book of science literally, word for word and word by word, just like it is, it says, because it needs, I'll repeat, it needs no interpretation.
Say that again.
It says because it needs no interpretation.
No ad-libbing.
It says for it is self-explanatory. Explains its own self without the mere speculation and guessing involved in interpretation. Information that must be interpreted leaves loopholes for opportunists and those who would divide, mislead, and exploit the masses of people. Now, he repeats this. All you got to do is go to book 2, the Nature, book 2, paragraph 16. Right? So that was book 1, paragraph 335. And if you go to book 2, paragraph 16, it repeats the same thing over again. It makes it clear.
It repeats. It repeats itself.
It repeats. It needs no interpretation. So where are these Nuwaupu's getting this? He's his ancestry. How you even know that? You did a DNA test on Mr. Brown? How you know that? You did it with the Ancestry.com?
Ancestry.com. Even like that's all the way truthful. Like, but yeah, I don't know
what DNA test did they do with that brother?
I don't know.
Y'all didn't even meet him. No. You never even met him. So how could you done it?
And it was obvious. They would have had to done that after that point was addressed. Why would you even try to twist those words like that?
I don't know.
Stop twisting words.
That's what Abu Bakr, right?
One of the principles you learned from Dr.
Uthman did during the time of Rasulullah Muhammad. As soon as Muhammad died, well, you know what? That was one of the arguments that Sunni Muslims. That's one of the arguments that Sunni Muslims today have against the Jews. Why they say they don't want to read the Torah or the Bible, because they said during the time of the Prophet Muhammad's time, the Jews were altering words from the scriptures, and so it did make the scriptures weren't authentic. They weren't authentic because people want to change and twist, and that's what we accuse the Sunnis doing. They did that as soon as the Prophet Muhammad died. They first of all, Uthman, the third Khalifa, he burnt all the manuscripts of the original Quran. He burnt them. And all he had left was individuals who was what we call Hafiz Quran, those who memorized the Quran from memory.
Well, we don't need memory for this.
Nah, you don't need.
It's exact, and you can follow it word by word, and it repeats itself.
This should
no interpretation.
We shouldn't even have no more discussion on whether or not Mr. Brown, who he is, because he tells you. He makes it clear in the information who he is, and you don't need no interpreters reinterpreting what it is. Just because you don't like he's contradicting the wife, and he's contradicting Mr. Royu, and I don't know why those people are saying something he himself put it on audio that he's not. Okay? And so here's my point. We're gonna move on to our next part of this. And we're gonna reiterate these things. So I hope we're clear on this point, and we're gonna move on. Our next point we want to address in dealing on this subject matter is we have 9 + 1 facts that prove Dr. York is Amunnubi Rooakhptah and Afroo OoNoo. It's all the same individual, all the same entity. Okay? Now, and let me say this. For Nuwaupians now, bear with us. Bear with us. Because where people, they're like, well, but the master said he wasn't Afroo OoNoo. He put out, because that's what Tarnoon is.
Yeah, that's what
he put out these letters and see right here. See what it says in the last one?
A little piece of a letter.
Yeah, no, he got a letter. I don't care what it is, but he put out letters and see, he said he's not. And so we're gonna address all of that. Even like Amunnubi does a joke. He says
Afro is a hairstyle.
Right. Yeah, the first hairstyle.
And he's like, OoNoo is Spanish. Right.
So we're gonna address all of those things. I hope as we go through, we have 9 + 1 facts that prove Dr. York is Amunnubi Rooakhptah as well as Afroo OoNoo. Okay? And so after we go through this, hopefully it answers a lot of these questions and concerns. And then after we go through our 9 + 1 facts, then we have additional information. All right? That is going to like nip this in the bud. So after we're done with this, after we're done and everyone see all of the data that we're going to put out, then see what Amunnubi, see what he put out first, right? And you see what the brother, the Malachi disciple put out with that brother Khensu on the subject matter.
That's right.
When you go through all of it, this should be the end of this whole...
End of discussion.
Yeah, this should be it's like it's the finale. It's like what
else is there to say?
Yeah, what else is to say? It's a wrap.
Yeah. And hopefully for those who are sincere in those camps who, have not been exposed to this truth, hopefully your eyes can be open. Hopefully you can see truth. Hopefully you can hear truth.
We pray. All right, so let's keep it moving. So this is the 9 + 1 facts. Fact number 1. We already talked about fact number 1. Fact number 1 is from the transcript of the Nature. Paragraph 3 and paragraph 46 explains that Afroo OoNoo is from the Sudan. What a coincidence. And note, in this book, the transcript was put out in 1996. In 96, the master teacher, everybody was under the impression, the master teacher made it clear he was from the Sudan. So there's no question about that. And it's very clear that Mr. Brown is from Georgia. Anyone who listens to the transcript, the audio version, you can hear that's a Southern brother. He has a Southern accent. You can hear that. So his obituary makes that very clear where he's from. So that's not even in debate. That it's a done deal. Those are two separate entities, okay? So that's the first clue that Afroo OoNoo is, and Dr. York is from the Sudan. It should be the only clue needed, but let's keep it moving. So now the next clue, right? The next fact. If we look at, let's see, the Nature, and this is book 2. The Nature, book 2, paragraph 3. Nature, book 2, paragraph 3. If we go to that, and then we have to go to the Bible Interpretations. Bible Interpretations and Explanations, book 2, paragraph 4. Bible Interpretations and Explanations, book 2, and paragraph 4. You're going to do a side-by-side comparison. You're going to do a side-by-side comparison. So you got the Nature, book 2, right? Paragraph 3. And then you have the Bible Interpretations and Explanations, book 2, paragraph 4. All right? And you just read them. And when you read them, you're going to be reading the same information. Exact same information. All right? Exact same information. So here's what I'm going to do. To get people on board. Here's what you're going to see in those paragraphs. It's going to basically, I'm going to paraphrase this. This is going to say both explains that one, the moon cycle is ending or ended in the year 1962. So what a coincidence. The Nature is saying that the moon cycle ended in 1962. Book 2 of Bible Interpretation. Now let's keep this in mind too. When did the Bible Interpretations, Explanations, book 2 come out? What year?
It said 1968.
1968. So now Bible Interpretations and Explanations came out in 1968. The Nature book 2 came out in 1995. So that's a span of what? How many years is that?
Oh goodness.
You got the 70s, you got the 80s, so that's 20, that's 25 plus 28 year differential, right? So that's a 28-year differential where if Dr. York is Amunnubi, as the brother Chef Otis did prove, right? If Dr. York is Amunnubi, and he put this information out, saying that the moon cycle ended in 1962. Now here's 28 years later. The Nature comes out, right? Book 2, 95, and the information is repeated. I'm like, now if we had who's that? Chuck Wagon? Chuck Morgan? If Chuck was on the case, Chuck was like, man, that's direct plagiarism, right? Because you can clearly see
Afroo plagiarized.
For the Amunnubi.
Right.
Exactly. It's the exact same stuff. Mm-hmm. It's the exact same information. Anyone can read it.
Yeah.
Anyone can read it. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's right.
So how they? Come on now. How they both know? They not only said the moon cycle then, like who the heck? No one even know about no moon cycle. First of all, who talks about that stuff?
In the 60s, nobody.
60s or today, who talks about that? They don't even individual even mention that kind of stuff and talks about it wasn't Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yeah.
He didn't get no date, did he?
No,
when the moon cycle was going to end?
He gave the 6,000 years, but that's it. He
Yeah.
didn't say when it was going to end.
So now you have a date, 1962, that's in the Bible Interpretations and Explanations, Book 2, in 1968. And then 28 years later, it comes up again.
27 years, yeah.
Right. It comes up again in the Nature Part 2.
Yeah.
What was that? 1995, Part 2, and he said 1968 is the end of the moon cycle.
fact is showing Amunnubi to Rooakhptah, Afroo OoNoo are the same.
I'm like, come on, that's a coincidence?
No. All right, let's keep going.
Is that cool?
Let's keep going. I just Afroo number 2.
Yeah. So now, and then it says that the year 1962 was the year the orb scientists made themselves known to Amunnubi with Rooakhptah. So in that same paragraph, he's now being, how can I say, he's now being influenced and introduced by these entities.
Universe scientists?
Yeah.
Orb scientists?
Yes, it says that in the paragraph that Amunnubi got this information from these beings, right? And then when you read Afroo OoNoo, it says right here, and where we at? Book 2, in Afroo OoNoo, in Book 2, in that same paragraph. Okay, and so we're at paragraph 3. And he tells you, paragraph 3 says that the world of the moon cycle, let's see, no, let me go back. Says the Christian calendar year 1962 marks the end of the moon cycle, which is the end of the evolutionary cycle. Cycles of nature can interlap and overlap each other to the extent that they are interrelated. Now, 1962 signifies the end of the world of the moon cycle. Now, orb scientists, the mental forces of nature knowledge, of forces of knowledge and power of the universe, chose the year 1962 for the end of the moon and evolutionary cycle. So the information came from these orb scientists. That's how he learned it. And that's in the Nature. And he says the exact same thing in Bible Interpretation and Explanations, right? So now he's meeting these orb scientists in 1962. He says that in this book, The Nature. He says that in Bible Interpretation and Explanations. And guess where else he says it? Guess where else he says it?
Who's the he that's saying this?
The master. Because obviously, Dr. York obviously he's Amunnubi. We proved that. We're going to prove that more and more. Because these guys out there have a problem with that. But anyway, it says it in both those books. But check this out. And this is for Nuwaupians. We just put this book out. The Akasha Records. We just put this out.
Right, Akasha. That's right.
We just put this out. Okay? The Akasha Records, Actual Facts, let's see, number 72. Go to paragraph, everyone who has this book, go to paragraph 237. If you go to paragraph 237, and I'm going to read paragraph 237. Check this out. Listen to this, guys. And this just came out. It says in paragraph 237, in 1962, I was guided by the Muzyud Mutatalu, which is extraterrestrials. He said, in 1962, I was guided by the extraterrestrials to pick up a pen and write Nuwaupu. In 1962. So what did the master say? You got an incident. If it happens again, that's a coincidence. If it happens again, what does that mean?
Reality.
Now how's it? It's in the, and he just put this out. We just put this out. So now, according to the master teacher, he started writing Nuwaupu, right, in 1962. And this is in the Akasha Records. He already told us that in the Bible Interpretations Explanations in 1968, which is when he was teaching Nuwaupu in the 60s, right?
That's right.
Then it says it the same exact thing in Book 2, Nature. I mean, do we need anything else? I mean, so we're gonna keep. It's so much we gotta go into, but we're gonna keep going. So now we have the facts of. We have 3 books, 3 different time dates saying the exact same information. Now, come on. And this is for Nuwaupians. You know, Tarnoon is like, he plagiarized. You know, I don't count that. So he ain't going. This is for Nuwaupians, guys. It's exact same information, right? Exact same information. So if Afroo OoNoo is from the Sudan, and he's saying the same things, and we're just getting started. We're just getting started, right? So let's keep it moving. So now this is just number 2, the fact number 2. So we have the 1962 that matches up, that the moon cycle ended, and he got the information about the moon cycle ending from these orb scientists, aka Riskians, right? Orb scientists, but anyway,
Universe scientists.
But so so we have that the Akasha Records, and here's the point about the moon cycle. Listen to that cycle. Who teaches about cycles? The whole nature is talking about cycles, the cycles of nature. No one else talks about the cycles of nature. No one else talks about the cycles of nature, and so that's very important. That's another very important point while we're dealing with this, because it says that, and here's the thing, and this is in the nature, that the Afroo OoNoo has 720 degrees of knowledge, and that's dealing with the cycles of nature. Amunnubi has 720 degrees of knowledge, dealing with the cycles of nature. Dr. York has
that sound familiar?
And 20 degrees of knowledge in dealing with the cycles of nature.
That's on like every book ever.
So he has the same degrees. Same year, 1962. Dealing with the cycles, the moon cycles, right? All throughout the information. And explaining about he has 720 degrees of knowledge, which is the knowledge of the SMAT circle. The knowledge of the SMAT circle. I know I mentioned that to brother back in the day. It was back in 2007 about the SMAT, and he's like, "Where you get that from?"
Yeah, well, matter of fact, we'll play that clip again too.
Yeah, it's like because we didn't pick up when the master would talk about this stuff. So the brother was, when I mentioned the SMAT, and this, like I said, this had to be 2007. When I mentioned the SMAT circle, the brother was like, "Okay, you know, I ain't gonna call the brother out. Everybody know him, but he's like, the master wouldn't say nothing like that. No SMAT circle, blah blah blah." Play that clip. When is that clip? 1999?
Something like that.
Yeah, 1999. We'll play it. It's the Master God. Play that. He says the SMAT circle.
I was reading the Science of Healing book, and in that you explained there's 11 planes, and you list 7 of them, and I was trying to figure out if the other 4 was the 4 high senses, and the 7 of them, the last 3, all of them dwell within us. Okay. Can you explain the last 3 a little bit?
Right. When I speak of the planes, and one thing I tried to explain in that book many years ago is stop looking at the planes as levels. It's so difficult because of the light. The way we've been taught to look at things, calibrate them. You follow what I'm saying? Everything we have to define by distance, by size, by height, by color. You know what I mean? By apparent texture. So when we think of the planes, we start thinking of them as layers or steps upward, because you have to draw 1, 2, 3 on a piece of paper. Otherwise, all the lines will be in the same spot. You'll never be able to explain yourself. You follow? So what I did, I go to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and stop. Because at the time that I wrote that book, I was writing that book as a Muslim And I was teaching them about the things in this realm, and stepping from this realm, which is the material plane, the most dense form of matter, which in itself, then once you step out of matter, you go into, or the physical plane, you go into what's referred to as the plane of force. The plane of force stimulates the physical. That means, so you have the physical plane, it subdivides into different types of matter. The plane of force, which is the energy that's inside all living things. And then you go into the spiritual plane when they got beneath the atom and got to a higher level of energy. And then you go into the mental plane. That this thing invaded man who's so intelligent, it must have thought. It had a mind. And the word mind is the individual portion that feeds off the mental. And the mental is the reservoir of intellect of which all things receive. So it moves to the thought patterns of the soul or the spirit. You follow that? We get past the mental plane with the fourth level, or the four elements that manifest the physical. Now we go to the next level. The plane of what? Truth. Truth. They say divine truth. It's the plane. Once you get to 9, which is now your 7, 8, 9, reality is gone. The court is gone. The soul is gone. The higher purpose manifests itself as naught. You know what that means? Non-existence. Because 10 does not exist. 10 takes you back to 1. Number 1 is another dimension starting 9 more planes of energy. But energy, unlike the energy we know, and that's why they call it antimatter, because it's on the flip side of this matter. 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 The flip side of this matter.
Anyway, let's keep it moving with that. And so now, and this is another important point. And this will get into, and this is like one point, many points. This is point number 2, but it's like pointing to A, B, C, and D of number 2, because they're all interrelated. When you're dealing with the smack circle, you're also dealing with the fact that, and this is going to our answer days, about the dimensions, because that's what the smack circle breaks down. Okay,
that's right.
So you have from 3 ether, right? The which is the ghost, where we at now, right? The 3rd dimension goes up to the 4th, goes up to the 5th, goes up to the 6th, 7th, 8th, and the 9th, right?
That's right.
This is explained when the master teacher was teaching us about the different planes of dimensions since the school of Islam. Because all these guys saying it, he didn't teach this stuff when y'all were Ansars and Muslims. He didn't teach no nature. I'm like, really? Yeah. We're gonna annihilate that silliness and all. The smack circle is the dimensions. The smack circle is the dimensions, the different planes. All you have to do is go to the Nature to Nature, Book 2, paragraph 343, and it explains that the cycles, those as you go from 3 to 4 to 5, it's called dimensions. He says it in there. He says dimensions. And he says, I'm using this terminology because that's how most people in this culture will interpret it, as dimensions, right? And when we're in the school of Islam, we call it the different planes, which is also we identify as different dimensions. All we got to do, what book? Get the Science of Creation. That's what this is one of the books he introduced the concept to us. So we'll put that up. The first publication of the Science of Creation came out in 1976, where he's talking about the different planes. The different planes. So now, here's my point. This is just point 2. This is just point 2. Okay? Showing it. So you got the 1962 date that matches up. The moon cycle matches up. The fact that he got that information from these universe scientists, aka extraterrestrials, aka spirit beings, all the same thing. And he explains about this smack circle, right? That the whole thing talks about smack circle and has different dimensions. And he has, when you have knowledge of the whole smack circle, it means you have 720 degrees. 720 degrees. And that's how he had knowledge of the different planes, the dimensions that he taught us in the Ansar school. That's how he had that knowledge. And you know, and let me just make this one point. Why am I even bringing this up? I want to stress it. Because that's one of the arguments in the Ansar cult rebuttal book. That's what Bilal Phillips was getting on it. Said, where y'all get this 7 plane stuff from? Read the rebuttal book. Where y'all get that 7 plane? That's not Islam. You got that right. That's not Islam.
We were not
no
Muslims like everybody else.
No one teach that. That's like, where you get that from? And the master had to explain, because he said, you got that from Plato, the Greek. You got that from the Greeks. And the master explained in the rebuttal book why he's explaining those dimensional planes. He said, no, that's not what it is, and that's not what Plato was teaching. He cleaned that up. The point I'm trying to make is that, and we're going to get into that during the School of Islam, we was always teaching Nuwaupu. So, that's point 2. Watch it again if it's a lot, because that's a lot, just in point 2. We ain't get to point 3 yet. Okay, and so we're going to move on to point 3. Now, point 3. This is point 3 that is proof that Amunnubi, Rooakhptah, Afroo OoNoo, and Dr. York are one and the same. Point number 3. Now, if you go to the Nature, Book 2, right? Paragraph 183. The Nature, Book 2, paragraph 183. What are you going to read? What you're going to see in that paragraph, it talks about the cataclysms are coming. And it says that when you're at the moon cycle, that the cataclysms will happen within 60 years from the announced date of the chosen one. Okay? It's going to happen within 60 years of the announced date of the chosen one. That's when the cataclysms is going to occur. So now, 60 years. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Very familiar.
Anybody? We're going to put in the book, The Man of the Hour.
That's right.
The man, show that book, The Man of the Hour. The master teacher's been talking about this 60-year timeline from day one. The 60-year timeline from day one. Now the nature says this the chosen one is going to reveal the 60-year timeline. They have to say it. The 60-year timeline. Now, Nooniboos maybe say, no, that 60-year timeline is 1962. Read it carefully, guys. Read it carefully.
Reading is fundamental.
Okay. Because it says that 60 years from the year announced by the one qualified to proclaim it. That's the actual wording it used. But so read Nature, Book 2, paragraph 183. That's a very important point. This chosen one thing. And here's my point. Here's my other fact. Go back to the Akasha Records. Wow, he put some stuff out in this book. Go back to the Akasha Records, family. Okay? If you go to the Akasha Records, Actual Facts, paragraph 1057. Paragraph 1057. It's in the back of the book. It's in the very back of the book. Okay? And he goes into that. He goes into this. He says here, paragraph 1057. It says it start ending in the year 2000. He's talking about the moon cycle. Ending in the year 2000. There's 6,000 years dominion from then to the year 2030. And he says it's going to go from 2030 to 2060, the next half hour. And he relates that to the scriptures in Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. And Revelation chapter 18, verse 10. So he goes into this whole 30-year timeline, the first half hour, which is from 1970 to 2030. Then the hour, he said that's when the hour kicks in. Because a lot of us thought the hour was from 1970 to 2030, right? Mm-hmm. And now he's clearing and updating that. That hour really starts in 2000, from 2000 to 2060.
That's the destruction period.
Yeah, that's when he said that's when the cataclysm is going to happen, within that time frame. So it's like, that's why it's so important for us to be getting out of Dodge.
Because we've been seeing it. That's what he said. The alignment happened May 5th, 2000, and we've been seeing it get worse and worse. All you got to do is,
we've been clocking. You've been looking up all the catastrophes.
Yeah, seeing in California what it was like a few hundred. We've seen earthquakes in just in California in like that week or something like that, and it's getting worse and worse and worse.
And in nature, it talks about the cataclysm which has to happen. It talks about how the cataclysm is going to be an earth-based cataclysm, where it's going to be like volcanic eruptions and earthquakes and things like that, and all. So the nature kind of goes into that and all. So again, now that's just point number 3. So what are the odds? The chosen one from the nature, who is Afroo OoNoo, had to announce the 60-year timeline. And Dr. York announces the 60-year timeline. He's been teaching that since the 70s about the 60-year time frame, right? And then now he just updated with the actual facts. I mean,
It's way past coincidence.
Let's
keep it moving.
Point number 4. All right, point number 4. Now, when you read the Nature, as well as the Bible interpretation and the explanations, as well as the 9 ball, right? They all have one theme in common that they all teach about.
What's that?
All the information. What they call it in movies, the antagonist. Who is our number one antagonist? Or what is our number one antagonist? Our whole
number one
doctrine.
Antagonist of Ethiopian people.
Yes.
African woolly-haired people.
Our whole doctrine is rooted upon dealing with this main issue, number one issue. The nature is full of it. The Bible interpretations, that's all it's talking about. The 9 ball, that's all it's talking about, including our own doctrine. And that is Leviathan. It's all centered around Leviathan. The whole thing about Leviathan. I mean, that's all the nature is talking about, fighting Leviathan. Now, I mean, really, the same thing? The exact same thing? The master, anyone knows, the master teacher, and this is my first copy of Leviathan. I bought this, when I came into the doctrine in 1989. I bought this in 1999.
You still got the Arabic on it.
I was there when it first came out. This is what they call Trump. That's what yeah, I bought this. You know what I'm saying? Look how thick this thing is.
Yeah. And you said you put 6 editions out.
Yes.
That was that 1971.
The first one was in 1971.
The same year.
1970.
What
is a coincidence to that? That the nature's all it's focused on is talking about fighting Leviathan, right? All you gotta do is go to Nature, Book 1, paragraph 209. It says the biggest secret that people don't know about is this secret called Leviathan. And it says, and this is a quote now from Book 1, Nature, Book 1, paragraph 209. It says, quote, and I quote, the secret is this: Leviathan represents all spirit beings. Leviathan represents all spirit beings. That is in Nuwaupu. That's in Nature, Book 1, paragraph 209, for all of those who need to see it. He says here, now, and he kind of used the same terminology in the Bible interpretations. Go to Bible interpretations, Book 1, paragraph 48, right? And I quote, it says this, paragraph 48, Bible interpretations, Book 1. In conclusion, one of the most deceptive and best kept secrets of all times is that Leviathan, blah, blah, blah. Now that's in Bible Interpretations, Book 1. That came out in 1967, right? And then you go to Nature, Book 1, paragraph 209, and it says, the secret is this: Leviathan represents all spirit beings.
So we're saying, in Bible Interpretations, coming out in 1967,
yes,
is saying this. Dr. York has been saying this since 1971, yes, go all the way up to the present. And 1993-95, the Nature is saying this. Your adversary is Leviathan.
What was that? That was number 4?
Yeah.
That was our 4th point. I mean, how much evidence you need to know that this is the same individual teaching the same stuff? How much more evidence we need? You know, we got 9
all of it. All of it. Like we said, we leave no doubt.
They're the same individual, but let's keep it moving. All right, point 5. Now here's the deal. The Nature, if you go to the Nature, Book 2, right? Paragraph 5 and paragraph 213. Also the Nature, Book 1, paragraph 227, paragraph 228. Okay? If you go to Are You Searching for Knowledge in the Nature? Are you searching for knowledge? Okay? Are you searching for knowledge? You go to paragraph 20, 21, 22, 23. Are you searching for knowledge? Paragraph 20, 21, 22, and 23. Okay? Now, what are you going to see? What are you going to read when you go to all those paragraphs?
What's that?
It explains in detail in all those paragraphs that Afroo OoNoo must teach and live new culture for the new cycle. Let's do this one more time. It says in all of those paragraphs that Afroo OoNoo must teach and live the new cycle culture, right?
Culture.
New culture for this new cycle. He must teach it, he must live it. He must teach it, he must live it. He must teach it, he must live it. Now, how could that possibly be Mr. Brown? He didn't, obviously, according to all these guys, Mr. Brown is the hidden one.
Yeah, so he was in the background.
He was the guy in the background.
Unfortunately, we didn't get, no one got to even hear about him until after he passed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, they make a whole argument why he needed to be hid. Like, I think what he said, like he said, the wife said he didn't want to deal with those moon cycle people. Yeah, Tarnus. I'm like, this is what I don't get. And anyone listen, I gave you the chapters, right? And we're gonna keep it going. So now here's the point I want to make, and you would think those brothers Tarnunan would have figured this out, because it doesn't make any sense to me. On this subject matter about the culture and about Afroo OoNoo could not be no introvert as they claim. Yes, Mr. Brown, Johnny Eugene Brown, aka Nuwaupu, he can be an introvert, but not Afroo OoNoo. And it doesn't even make any sense. And the obvious stuff. Every paragraph in the Nature book, every paragraph, it ends with the same phrase.
Right. Let it be remembered always, and let it be known.
So it ends with the same phrase, that let it be remembered always, and let it be known. So what does that mean? Remember this information, right? And spread the information out to the public. So is that to say, are we saying that only this people who read this information, let it be known? It doesn't account for the author? The author doesn't have to let it
spread the word.
That doesn't.
Especially, Afroo OoNoo, the first resurrected.
He's the first, right? And we're gonna get into that. It teaches that Afroo OoNoo is the firstborn of the dead, which means he's the most intelligent individual on this subject matter, and he's not gonna let it be. He's telling everybody else to let it be known, and he's not gonna let it be known. What sense does that make?
None at all, but
I don't get it. Why would they think that? He says it in every paragraph. The fact, as soon as they found out that Mr. Brown is an introvert and didn't want to deal with the public, there's no public data on him, right? He's not teaching. Apparently he doesn't have any students. All these individuals became students after him, right? I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's like he tells you in every paragraph, let it be known. Let it be known. All you gotta do is read those paragraphs. I told you, this is book 1, paragraph 227, and paragraph 228 in book 1. He makes it clear he has to go out there and teach new culture. He has to physically do it. Book 2, paragraph 5, paragraph 213, read it. It says that he has to teach new culture.
Let it be known. Paragraph 17. Listen to reason. Nature royalty is determined by blood lineage flowing from the incarnations of gods and goddesses and the kinship of demigods and goddesses to their ancestry. If a person is a natural-born king, a natural-born queen, a natural-born priest, or a natural-born elite, by nature, he or she learns of it in the proper place and at the proper time. Because these people are royalty of nature and thereby obligated to learn and practice positive nature knowledge, including the laws and also standards of nature, and be able to lead people in the right direction. These facts are especially true now that the moon cycle and evolution have ended and the sun cycle and revolution have begun. Let it be known. Question.
He makes that clear. He makes that very clear. It sounds like someone else I know. It sounds like someone else I know that's been teaching culture for how long? 50 years now?
What do they say? Killing the culture, right? Like the brothers talking about that. Wait, matter of fact, we referenced the good brother Amunnubi, Prince York. What does he always say? Remember when he got interviewed?
Yeah, with Sinetta?
He asked him, what's the one thing, the main thing you like about what your father taught? Remember what he answered?
That's right.
Culture.
The culture, man. The culture,
The
man.
culture.
This theory that Afroo OoNoo is hidden. Listen to this. Right now, we're gonna go to book one. Book one. This is dealing with this whole Afroo OoNoos and introvert stuff, right? We're gonna go to book one, paragraph. Where we at? Paragraph. I guess 335. Book 1, paragraph 335. Is it? No. Book 1, paragraph 330. Is it paragraph 336? Let me see. I gotta look at my notes here because I want to get this right for the public. Okay. So we got let's see. Book 1, paragraph 370 is 373. So I stand corrected. Book 1, paragraph 373. Now this is a very important paragraph to look at. Okay, and I'm going to read it. Paragraph 373. And so on this he's going to be silent. He's going to be in the background. And I need y'all to think. It says, paragraph 373. It says, moreover, Afroo OoNoo, the physical author and writer of this book, NoopooH is the mental and spiritual, is neither a scapegoat nor a sacrificial lamb for the guilty, because he represents the change from the moon cycle, the cycle of forgiveness and mercy. It talks about that forgiveness and mercy stuff in the Bible interpretations and explanations. But anyway, the Libra cycle, right? He says the cycle of judgment, justice, equality, and balance, as promised by the forces of nature and predicted by the ancients. Now it says this: the sages of ancient times and antiquity. It is in the best interest. He says it is in the best interest of all persons, places, and things that this writer and messenger of NoopooH, by way of Noon, not only be allowed, but also be helped by all peoples and leaders of the planet Earth to complete his mission of assignment of almighty nature. What mission is that? He's saying, he's making a proclamation that allow him to complete his mission. Okay, this is book 1.
He's like, it's better to assist him.
Yes.
People and leaders.
Allow him to complete his mission, right? Of almighty nature via its emanation NoopooH for their philosophy Noon. And that assignment is the revelation of the true culture and knowledge of the well-being for all who can understand and adhere to mental resurrection information as explained in this volume, blah, 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 blah.
So again, the mission is the revelation of true culture and knowledge.
He's saying it again.
So what has to be revealed is culture and knowledge.
Not in the background.
And he's saying that the leaders and peoples of the earth have to help him reveal true culture and knowledge.
paso fuerte, un paso hacia adelante. Dos pasos me voy sin mirarte, tan lejos pisé. Dos pasos y ya te olvidé. Tres pasos ya son hacia el este, el sur, el oeste. Tres pasos creo mucho me parece.
Love, that's the kid. Afroo. Greetings, it's Rooakhptah. They see us, say Rooakhptah. That is greetings. That's how we say what's up, in other words. We've been here for over 40-something years. We are originally from Brooklyn. 717 Bushwick Avenue. Been there, started there, and still there. So give it up, everybody.
Come
He goes on to say now, he says the same thing again in book 2 a different way. Now if we go to book 2, Nature book 2, paragraph 403. Book 2, paragraph 403. We're going to read that for y'all. Now pay attention. He says, this, now remind you, keep in mind when this book was put out, 1995, right? Let's go. It says, this scribe said previously, religion has served its purpose and thereby has been fulfilled except for the ending called judgment, right? And balance in time by the positive powers and negative forces of almighty nature. So, it is true and binding. If this writer, Afroo OoNoo, listen to this. He said it's true and binding. If this writer, Afroo OoNoo, is murdered by anyone whatsoever or anything for any reason, right? By any means, he has requested and predicted that all enemies of the Ethiopian race be destroyed by their roots, completely eliminated, and all enemies of justice and equality be terminated once and for all, leaving alive only the elite and the elect. Those innocent people definitely chosen to survive Armageddon. Who else told us about Armageddon? But anyway, by Armageddon, by way of Noon and NoopooH. Then he goes on to say, so, leaders and rulers of the planet Earth, it is most wise and in the best interest of all concerned not only to allow this messenger of NoopooH nature to accomplish his mission and assignment by almighty nature in the name of NoopooH, but likewise help and become a part of the process. So why would Afroo OoNoo be concerned about being murdered and make a declaration to the leaders of the world?
You said the leaders of the world. That's like, presidents. That's like people like who stopped.
He says, so leaders and rulers of planet Earth, it is most wise and in the best interest of all concerned not only to allow this messenger. Well, if Afroo OoNoo is Mr. Johnny Brown, why would he need to say anything like that when he knew this book came out in 95? No one heard a peep from him.
No. You said the brothers didn't find him until what, like 10 years after these books was already
exactly.
put out.
No one heard of Pete. He wasn't out on the electric circuit like Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark and Asha Kwesi and Sarah Sutton-Seti and you know what I'm saying? He wasn't out there. I'm like, we know the conscious teachers, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. You got Claude Anderson.
There's a lot of brothers who I know.
I mean, oh my goodness. When you got power information, you ain't gonna be
you can't be hidden. You can't be silent. No,
it's impossible. So why would someone who knew they were gonna be a recluse, who was a recluse now, worried about being affected by world leaders? Listen, think about this. Why would world leaders pay attention to someone who's not making no noise? The only time the world leaders will be interested in you, aka Martin Luther King, aka Malcolm X, aka Marcus Garvey, aka Noble Drew Ali, aka Honorable Elijah Muhammad, aka Minister Louis Farrakhan, aka Dr. York. The only time you get on their radar is when you start affecting the hearts and minds of masses of people.
Yeah, when you start getting into the thousands and then eventually the millions,
that's the only way you get on their radar. When you start affecting the hearts and minds of masses of people. And that brings us to a whole nother thing. This is not no easy doctrine to push. The nature says it. He says it. He says it right here. If you go to paragraph 353, right? He says here, nevertheless, this is resurrection time for minds of all persons who can read, hear, and understand. NoopooH is the mental resurrection, and Noon for which this book is a part is the science of the mental resurrection. And he goes on to say, still, another reason this philosophy science is so controversial and argumentative for people is this. It states truth, and truth is always bitter pill to swallow in world society prevalent with nature ignorance, fear of the unknown, mixed up mentalities, blind beliefs, blah, blah, blah. And you can go on and on. He talks about this information is controversial, 2, argumentative. You know why? Because of the simple fact that most religious people who get a hold of this, they're going to put it down. Because it takes away the one thing religion promised you. And whether you're a Christian or you're a Muslim, I can't really speak for Jews because they don't really talk about it too much, unless the Hebrew Israelites do. Yeah. It annihilates salvation.
Salvation. Matter of fact, they're doing it. Always talking about Savior's done, Savior's gone.
Yeah,
we don't need no Savior.
So this completely a religious-minded individual.
It'd be turned completely off.
Here's my question, even to Tarnu. For those who know Tarnu, ask him. How many individuals that are Nuwaupu, right? That are Nuwaupu that 1, weren't students of Dr. York, or 2, weren't influenced by students of Dr. York? How many Nuwaupu out there? I'll repeat. 1, were not students of Dr. York, and 2, weren't influenced by students of Dr. York. How many Nuwaupu walked into that bookstore that were hardcore Christians? They know nothing about no Dr. York and nothing like that. And just picked up this book and said, I'm a Nuwaupu. How many Muslims walked into there and picked up these books and said, I'm a Nuwaupu? How many of those guys in your ranks that these books appeal to?
That's a good question. It's a whole lot more Muslims and Christians on the planet than Nuwaupians.
I'm like, it's like freaking. Listen, this book is designed to turn religious-minded people off. That's what these books are designed, because it annihilates religion. And how many black people on the planet is religious? Like
billion,
percentage-wise, 90%, 95% of our people.
I mean, our video about talking about the preachers and the pastors and all that.
90% of our people are religious, I would say, if not more, right? Worldwide. So, and this book is designed to cleanse the mind of the religious minded individuals. How this book is going to accomplish, how this information is going to accomplish if the individual who's the chosen one, that's what this book, we're going to get into that. If the individual is the chosen one is a recluse, how can 4 books now do that? How's it possible? How is it possible? It's gonna wipe away all these religious-minded individuals.
It's gonna convert everybody that it needs to, just
with no explanation.
And no one here to question.
No explanation. Exactly. Just like no explanation. No, I know the book says it speaks for itself, but it also says that you have different levels of reasonability, and so most individuals who pick this up, they're not even gonna comprehend, let alone agree with it. Yeah. And Afroo OoNoo know that.
Well, it was hard enough for Tarnoon to comprehend the Sudan part.
Afroo OoNoo knows it. That's why you put it here. Listen, read it yourself. 353. He knows. He says this book is controversial and it's gonna be argumentative. He already knows that most people ain't gonna want to hear that. He says it right here. Which is why he says, let it be remembered always. And guess what? Let it be known. It has to be taught. This is my point. It has to be taught. He knew he had to teach this information. And he knew by teaching, that's why he put that declaration. If the world leaders take me out because I'm trying to teach Nuwaupu, right?
That's right.
If the world leaders take me out because I'm trying to teach Nuwaupu, let them get all the curses that come. That's that Revelation quote.
Yeah, it is.
That's that.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? And so, listen, man. Listen. What was that? We was at number 5?
Number 5, just 5. Moving along. If it isn't clear by now,
So I hope we prove. Read all the paragraphs. Afroo OoNoo has to teach culture. Has to, not an option.
And knowledge. We said noon knowledge. Yeah, noon's knowledge.
We gotta get into it. It's so much. It's so much. Number 6. Alright. Let's keep it moving. Number 6. It says this. The Nature, Book 1, right? Book 1, Paragraph 1. Okay? Book 1, Book 1, Paragraph 7. Okay? Book 1, Paragraph 7. So let's go here. Book 1, Paragraph 7. I'm going to go right to it. Book 1, Paragraph 7. Book 1, Paragraph 7.
That looks like 2.
Huh?
That looks like book 2.
It is book 2, I'm sorry. Book 1, Paragraph 7. Very important paragraph. Very important paragraph. Book 1, Paragraph 7. Check this out. I'm going to read it. Okay? It says the Eastern and scientific name of the writer of this book is Afroo OoNoo. Okay? Of course, Afro means pertaining to Africa. African or of African descent, right? Now, that Tanu, you can use that to sit there and use that, African descent, that whole, Johnny Brown, we all, because we all black people know we from, Africa, except for those Moors, and we ain't African, but anyway. But let's keep it moving. But that's what Afro stands for. So now he's telling you what Afroo OoNoo means, because Afroo OoNoo, guys, is an acronym.
It's a title.
Yes, it's just a title, like Amunnubi, Rooakhptah, title. Melchizedek, title. Yanun, title. What else we got? Morda, title.
That's right. Amunnubi,
title. Jehuti, title. What else we got?
You got somebody?
Oh,
they right behind you. Brother John.
Brother John, title. Yeah. These are titles.
Got title.
Like me, I can be a father, right? I can be a brother, right? I can be a son. Right?
You can be a teacher.
I can be a teacher. Right? I can be a doctor. Right? I can be a driver. Right?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? All one person.
That's right. And then you got a specific name too on top of that.
You know what I'm saying? and it's funny because I have that same kind of, that birth issue that they got going on with the master.
Yeah, I remember that. You showed me your birth certificate.
Yeah, my birth certificate. Because I'm not the only. The master's he's not the only one that had a birth certificate where it just had no name but last name. I had that.
I mean, we talked with your uncle about it. The problem we're not looking at is us being chattel in this country. That happens a lot. That happens a lot.
And you know what's deep about it? Like my name, right? Like my name, my birth name. A lot of people, like when growing up, a lot of people don't know what my birth name is. A lot of people don't know what my real last name is. A lot of people I went to school with, like high school and junior high school, and you ask them, and they see a picture of me, what's his last name? The last name I wound up having, they wouldn't know that's not my birth name. And then the name I went by, they wouldn't know that
first name ain't your first name.
Yeah, that's not. I ain't gonna go into that, but that's just some clues on his name thing, being around on his name thing, but that's whatever. So Afro stands for African, right? African descent. So he's explaining now why the name, right? So it goes on to say Afro is pertaining to African or African descent, and the word name OoNoo means number 1 or the first to be resurrected again. So OoNoo represents the first to be resurrected again. He says this happens once every 72 million years. Once every 72 million years. From the death called ignorance and deception about absolute nature and its laws and cycles, and the first to be resurrected from the deep grave of deaf culture. So now, this is point number 6. He's the firstborn of the dead, y'all.
Firstborn, yeah.
And he ain't just firstborn of the dead. He's firstborn of the dead when it comes to nature knowledge. He ain't just firstborn of the dead when it comes to nature knowledge. He's the firstborn of the dead when it comes to culture of nature knowledge.
Of the African race.
For African people. What culture we supposed to be living? He's the firstborn of the dead. How we supposed to do things. How we not supposed to do things. We got a lot more to go.
A whole lot.
We got a lot more to go.
A whole lot. Because all Nuwaupians, you've heard that before.
He the firstborn of the dead.
Just read any author's note.
Book of Land.
Mm-hmm.
The Book of Land. It's online. It's online. One of the first editions of the Book of Land we put out in 1986.
Okay.
1986.
Talk about it.
The master teacher puts it out. Page 11. First paragraph. Page 11. It reads right here. It says, I, Sayyid Isa, Sayyid al-Imam Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi, am the first begotten of the dead. I am the first begotten of the dead. The master was teaching this since the Ansar days. That he's the first resurrected one, the firstborn, first begotten of what? You just if you read the Book of Land, he explains what he's the first resurrected one to bring this
title.
He's a reformer of what?
That's right.
Of our way of life, our culture. That's what he came to renew our way of life as the Al-Mujaddid.
The reformer, that's right. The renewer.
So let's do this one more thing. What is the odds of Afroo OoNoo meaning the first one to renew our culture?
Firstborn, the first mentally resurrected,
the first resurrected one to renew our culture. And the master teacher, as an Ansar, he said it then, he says it today. The first one to resurrect our culture. And it says in the Nature Nation, we're going to have new names, new language. How about that, guys? New language.
Language is important.
New dress code.
New dress code.
New food.
New food.
New everything.
New customs and ways of doing things.
Everything. How peace and blessings to our brother, Mr. Johnny Eugene Brown. You know, we give great respect and props to the fact that just like the sisters right now who are getting their work done and getting books out that the master wants them to put out, Johnny Brown obviously was doing the same thing for the master teacher.
Responsible for holding it down, getting
for the master teacher. Yeah. But don't put something on Mr. Brown that he never put on himself. Don't put responsibilities on Mr. Brown he never put on himself. These books, it's so obvious the responsibility of Afroo OoNoo, what he was supposed to do. Not sit in the background and just magically think those books were going to just sell and take the world by storm. How in the world, if he's the firstborn in the mental dead when it comes to nature knowledge, that means he's the wisest individual on earth.
Yeah. He's saying everyone else is still mentally dead. So who's going to comprehend any of this stuff?
Right.
He has to teach everybody.
He's the wisest guy on earth. It says right here, this hasn't happened, and this is once every 72 million years.
And we know no one is still existing. So
why with that? And they putting this on Mr. Brown. That don't make no sense. No disrespect to Mr. Brown, but when you look at the obituary and you look at his picture, you see what clothing he has on. No disrespect, but you see what clothing he has on. When you seen Dr. York, the master teacher, walk around in Western clothes?
Ever. He's described so many different types of clothing.
Yeah, other than the fact when he do, Dr. York, now Chuck would bring that up. Yeah, but he put on those Western clothes when he did Dr. York. I mean, come on, man. I'm like, the master teacher, 90% of his wardrobe has always been cultural clothing, African-based clothing. Always pushing and promoting culture.
Yeah. I mean, even... It's funny you bring up the Dr. York the singer. He even showed that in the books. He had the Islamic garb as a portion in the group Passion. He rocked that Islamic garb.
Get about it. So Afroo OoNoo means the first African to be resurrected with nature knowledge. The first born of the dead. The master teacher made it very clear in the Land Book, 1980. He was saying that in the 70s. But I'm just showing you the proof. Because y'all go, this is on what Scribes. You can go look it up on Scribes. You can go look at it on Scribes. You know, so for those who need to read it, right? So, again, first begotten of the dead, the reformer, El Mujadid. Plain and simple. So that was what? Number 6? That was number 6. So we're going to move on. So now, number 7. Point number 7. Let's see. Now, point number 7. When you look at the Bible interpretation and explanations, and I mean book 1, book 2, look at the 9 Ball, all 4 counts, look at all of the nature books. What do they all have in common? All of them teach by question and answer. All of them teach by question and answer, which is, everyone knows that's the trademark of Dr. York. Question and answer. His whole platform has always been question and answer. He taught for 30 years in the public, question and answer.
That's right. Vocally, in the books, everything. Question
and answer. Now, I mean, what? Why would Dr. York steal the teaching format of Afroo OoNoo? Obviously, no, it's the other way around. Afroo OoNoo had to steal the teaching for, well, no. If they say, if Afroo OoNoo was Amunnubi, he was before Dr. York, so I guess Dr. York had to steal it in the 70s. I mean,
he at the exact same time that 9 Ball came out.
Yeah, I'm like, what sense does that make? Now, and think about this. When you look at the transcript, right? Go to Nature transcript. Go to paragraph 5, and I'm going to read a quote. And this quote, it says, "Noon." Here's the key. Noon is the ethereal question and answer science. It says, Noon is the ethereal question and answer science. So that's how Noon teaches, by question and answer. That's all Dr. York has ever done. Ever done.
Noon teaches by question and answer. And Dr. York, aka Noon, also teaches by question and answer.
Now I'm like, where is Mr. Brown? Again, he's not out in the public teaching by question and answer. All he did was put out 4 books, according to these guys. Oh, and he put out those other books in the 60s, right? And then he disappeared.
Yeah, went in the background.
And here's the thing. What did he disappear to do?
Well, according to the obituary, yeah, he was working. He was working for the post office.
According to the obituary, he disappeared to get a job for the United States Post Office? Really?
Alright, here we are at the Johnny Eugene Brown obituary. You can see it on the website tributes.com. And it has memories and candles. You can see all this other stuff. So we're going to get to the part where it starts reading, and it says, Johnny Eugene Brown was born on November 23rd, 1926 in Oliver, Georgia. To smack. Johnny had a wide range of interests. He served in both the Army and Navy, enjoyed a bout with flexing his muscles in the boxing arena, graduated from Drake Business School in Brooklyn, New York, where he studied drafting, and also attended Long Island University, where he took several business courses. Johnny was always a seeker and independent thinker, a true Brown trait, and businessman. He used his entrepreneurial talents to open the Bumblebee, a novelty store in Brooklyn, where he served dedicated customers for several years. He then worked for the U.S. Postal Service and was pleased to retire in 1990 to devote 100% of his time to his universal studies and to the completion of his books. He then worked for the U.S. Postal Service and was pleased to retire in 1990 to devote 100% of his time to his universal studies and to the completion of his books.
again, this is not to insult what Mr. Brown did, but to compare that. How can he be the firstborn of the dead? And he had to go get a job working for the government. Something the nine ball talks against. We're gonna kind of go into that. The nine ball talks against us getting a job, first of all, and it says if you get a job temporarily. According to Mr. Brown's obituary, right? It says that he kind of had to wait till his retirement in 1990 before he wanted to really tackle the nature books. Really? So you guys want people to believe the firstborn of the dead, the most intelligent being among us, where we need this information, but this individual kind of had to get a job?
Yeah, matter of fact, he had to take off, unfortunately, 25 years to wait.
Because he had he couldn't have to figure out some kind of economic strategy where he could have worked for himself and put this out. I mean, look what Dr. York did. Dr. York built a whole organization, massive nation, on teaching this information. And we're gonna touch that as far as, did Dr. York teach nature knowledge when we were Ansars? Because I was already giving the clues for that, if you paid attention to the point. So again, point 7. Question and answer. The whole doctrine is based on question and answer. Who else does this? Who else teaches through question and answer? No one else. No one else do teaching through question and answer. And check this one out. If you go to Bible Interpretations, Bible Interpretation Explanations, Book 1, paragraph 45, and I'm going to read this. This is also question and answer. This is something for all of these individuals in that Nuwaupu camp that dogs us out, especially during the Ansar days. They one of the criticisms they have for Dr. York. And here's quote. It says this, paragraph 45, Bible Interpretations Explanations. It says this, that the standard knowledge of Nuwaupu is right knowledge. Right knowledge is that knowledge which agrees with nature and its laws and its way of life and death. Right knowledge is facts without fallacy. Facts are identified by proof, logic, reason, because facts are always logical and they reason out. Here's the key right here. When all necessary and major questions about the Bible have been asked by, answered for, and known to, and understood by the so-called Negro, he and she will then be qualified for his and her own spiritual science, which is Nuwaupu.
I'm trying to raise a group of people here that will ask questions. That's why we're the only ones we started. Now everybody's trying it. Come on in and sit down and ask questions. That's what we say. I'm trying to answer every kind of question that can come at you from everybody, from any kind of religion, science, social studies, history, and extraterrestrials. Trying to do it all in a little bit of time for you. You with me? That's all I'm trying to do. To make sure whoever comes before you, you can deal with them factually. You can flip this book open and say, well, in the Bible you say Genesis what?
That's right.
That's right. And I say, well, Genesis 9:25, curse be God. Okay, Genesis 9:25. Okay, John, what do you want to know? And then you can check that word. If you don't believe me, go get a Strong's Concordance or a Hebrew Encyclopedia or anything you want and check it. But they will threaten you because their religion goes to a point where they're mentally defeated. And they send you, I'm telling you, Amorites have sent Nubians out to kill me. Amorite red Arabs. Kill him. And brothers want to kill me for some Saudi Arabian or for some Bangladeshi. Want to kill their brothers instead of saying, excuse me, brothers, why can't we just prove him wrong?
Come on with it, man.
It's not like he hides. For 25 years, I came out every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and stood in a forum like this in Brooklyn and said, anybody come and ask me anything.
That's right.
And Arabs came, Jews came, Buddhists came, Seventh-day Adventists came, Hare Krishnas came, and all of them left the same way. I don't agree with him, but he's smart. Some of y'all say he's a smart one. He's a charismatic, you know, he's real, you know, but the facts, don't go past what I'm saying.
Right.
All I'm saying is facts. How do I retain all these facts and you can't then, Mr. Sunni man? Oh, he was only a Muslim from I'm only a Muslim from 1965 and I speak fluent Arabic. How come you don't?
That's right.
And if you have an ear for Arabic, you'll know my pronunciation is not American.
That's right.
My pronunciation is bizabt, as we say in Arabic, exact. You follow? They know that. And when I dealt with the Hebrews, I did the same thing. Why? How? Because of ego tripping? No, because I did my job.
That's right.
I did my homework. I did my job. You don't stand up in front of a Muslim mosque if you're not fluent in Arabic. You don't stand up in front of a synagogue if you're not fluent in Hebrew. You don't stand up and say you know if you don't know. Because I will put you to the test. And because I see you, I as one man can't get my hands on everybody, I'm raising up you. And I want you to be in depth. I want you to study. I want you to be bad. I want you to be as bad as I was. I was so bad. How bad am I? So bad.
I'll read that
Yeah,
one
do
more time.
that again.
I'll read that one more time. For all those who didn't get it, because this is one of their biggest criticisms, the Noonibus and
Stop
Tarnuni.
teaching religion.
So
Ain't that what they
yeah,
say?
Exactly. All he did was teach religion, right? So let's do it one more time. This is Bible Interpretations and Explanations, paragraph 45. This is book
the
1,
beginning of the
paragraph
teachings.
45.
Beginning
right.
with all the nature teachings.
Right. 1967, that book 1 came out, and this is what he has to say on that subject. Paragraph 45, he says this: the standard knowledge of Nuwaupu is right knowledge. Right knowledge is that knowledge which agrees with nature and its laws and its way of life and death. Right knowledge is facts without fallacy, right? Facts are identified by proof, logic, reason, because facts are always logical and they reason out. When all necessary and major questions about the Bible have been asked by, answered for, and known to, and understood by the so-called Negro, he and she will then be qualified for his and her own spiritual science, which is Nuwaupu. So it's telling you right here in the Bible interpretations that he had to teach by question and answer religion.
You know, that sounds exactly like what the brother Chef Otis, the elder, said. The one who walked with her. That sounds just like what he said.
He had to teach religion. Why? The people wasn't ready for Nuwaupu. And how could they be ready for Nuwaupu? It's you first have to address the religious dogmas first in order to begin to get our people into the mind state out of the religious mind. Literally, out of the religious mind. Now, I understand that Tarnoon has heard that, but he obviously doesn't agree with it, and obviously because he just can't comprehend the concept. Well, I'm talking to the intelligent ones out there that's listening to this to comprehend the concept. My point is this. One of Tarnoon's biggest arguments, the Nooniboos, they constantly get on, Nuwaupians are religious. Nuwaupians are religious. Everything.
They teach religion.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet, this tells you right here in the Bible Interpretation and Explanation book that we can't even teach Nuwaupu. He's saying we can't even teach Nuwaupu until you're qualified to receive Nuwaupu by addressing all of these religious issues. So, and everyone knows from 1970 all the way up until 1990, the master completely focused on religious theology through the school of Islam, which was also Nuwaupu, by the way. The school of Islam was still Nuwaupu. It was just a lesser degree. And we'll address that. But let's keep it moving. Now, question number 8. It says this in Bible Interpretations, Explanations, Book 1, Paragraph 5. And I quote, it says this, and I quote, just as there are forces that can foretell the future, there are also forces that can retrace the past. And Amunnubi, Rooakhptah, has access to all forces necessary to retrace and foretell, and this fact made these booklets possible. Okay? So now it's talking about the spiritual abilities that Amunnubi Rooakhptah has. Okay? Now if we go to the transcript, and this is for Nuwaupians, because again, according to Tarnoon, Afroo OoNoo wrote that. But so this is for Nuwaupians and any individuals who are looking at that. So now, because we already proved that, and we'll address the Amunnubi thing a little bit more, but let's keep it going. So the master is Amunnubi. He put this out, right? So he's talking about what are his abilities is. Now let's go into the nature. If you're going into the nature, the transcript, paragraph 29, and it says the exact same thing, that Afroo OoNoo has the same powers to be able to foretell the future, retrace the past. So they both have the same spiritual abilities.
exact same.
Same spiritual abilities.
Matter of fact, I've never even heard anyone talk about that. You hear a lot of people talking about they have abilities to foretell the future. That's common. I've never heard anyone talk about spiritual that sounds weird.
Yeah, that is
most
weird.
people think go to a history book to see the past.
Right.
Nobody talks about
the past.
I need a spiritual ability to see the past.
And it's deep because that's what gets into this whole with the whole plagiarism that Chuck Morris is trying to argue, because this is why he don't understand. We're gonna do a video specifically dealing with that guy.
Oh yeah, we'll deal with that.
We're gonna deal with that guy next.
Chuck wagon, right?
Well, everyone's on his bandwagon.
Yeah,
I think that's how Tarnoon.
That's right.
Yeah, that's how Tarnoon got on. I think he was the one who influenced him with this whole plagiarism. That's why this just Tarnoon, whatever. But and I feel for that brother. Both of them. I feel for them. I pray that they stop the negativity, the slandering. I pray that they stop the negativity and the slandering. It's horrible. It's just a horrible thing, but it is what it is. You're not gonna stop that from our people, because our people, as Tarnoon would say, we're suffering from spirit being possession, and Tarnoon says we're 6 ether. So. You speak for yourself.
Yeah, he's 6 y'all can be 6
But let's keep it going. And that goes to show the comprehension level what he thinks the nature is teaching about this whole 6 ether thing. Because spirit beings can't exist, or only can exist as 6 ether and Nuwaupu. I'm well aware of that quote, but
your comprehension of it.
Yeah. This other stuff you're not getting. But anyway, let's keep it moving. So now, that was number 8. So again, same spiritual powers, right? So let's move on to number 9. Number 9, it says this. We have the Nature Book 1. Book 1, paragraph 227 and paragraph 228. Now that's real important to read that paragraph. 227 and 228, right? I'm gonna pull from 227 a quote from there. It says this. It says, and this is a quote: "We Africans by nature, right, must unite ourselves mentally, spiritually, economically, and physically with our racial relatives in our motherland of origin, Africa, like all other races do towards their home-based country for their own survival and well-being."
Do that one more time, please.
So, I repeat, this is the Nature, Book 1, paragraph 227. And I quote, "We Africans by nature must unite ourselves mentally, spiritually, economically, and physically with our racial relatives in our motherland of origin, Africa, like other races do towards their home-based country for their own survival and well-being." So it goes back to this whole thing. How can Mr. Brown, who's an introvert, accomplish all these things?
Because it says mentally, physically, spiritually, and economically. I mean, we're saying we need business relationships with people in Africa. We need personal relationships with people in Africa.
Who did that?
We need, I was going to say, spiritually, mentally. It sounds like marriages maybe might be involved in that. Marrying somebody on the continent, maybe. And that, I'm talking about from Dr. York's point of view, because he did marry some sisters on the continent.
He sure did. He did marry 2 sisters, one from the Sonoshi tribe. Basically, he was married to that particular sister. I was at these weddings. First, I wasn't at the master's weddings, but I was at the wedding when the master's daughter got married. It was 2 sisters that got married in the community. This wedding had to take place in 1990. It was a big wedding. Big wedding. Guess who was there?
You said Sadiq, right?
No, he wasn't there.
Who was that? Who was there?
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z?
Jay-Z.
That was around the Originators time with the video, Originators video?
He was a DJ for Jazz, because Jazz performed that day. They put up a big stage. It was on Hart Street.
Oh,
it was a huge wedding. And one of the master's daughter got married, and another sister in the community got married from 2 Sudanese brothers. two Sudanese brothers. They were from the Sudan, born and raised in the Sudan, spoke fluent Arabic, right? And I was there at the wedding. It was a big thing. It was a big. We shut the street down. It was, it was a whole thing. He was there. Jay-Z was there. Ask Jay-Z, he was there.
Can't forget something like that.
No, he was there. So you know what I'm saying? I was there. I seen it. I was at the wedding. So the connection with Africa was always going strong. The connection with Africa, the master always was connected with the continent. We always push this connection with the continent.
I was gonna say they show those pictures of him out in Kemet out there. You know when he was like what 20 something. Like he
always connected with the continent. Always. Insane. We'll put some pictures up him on the continent. Always saying we gotta connect with the continent. That's a no-brainer. If you go to paragraph 228. This is important. I'm gonna read this one also. Same book, paragraph, the next paragraph, he goes on to repeat. He says, we black people as an ethnic race are still in mental captivity as well as spiritual and religious bondage. We must not allow ourselves to slip back into physical captivity. Therefore, as already emphasized, we must embrace our own true culture, noon, and broaden and tighten our ties with our racial members in our motherland called Africa, like Jews do with Israel and other Caucasians do with Europe and North America. I mean, I don't know how blatant that could be.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk, especially from up north. You know about how the Jews run their communities. Everything in-house, everything shipping back and forth.
So I go back to my point. How could Mr. Brown, who's a recluse now, he's a recluse, don't want to deal with no one. How can he accomplish any of these things? How's that possible? He's telling all of you guys to accomplish these things?
Especially now I think, putting it into context. Because that's book one, right?
Yeah, that's book one.
Yeah, you're putting this out it's like 1993.
1993.
And it's like,
and
you're the first.
He's retired also, so he has the time.
And I guess the other thing I'm thinking, the first mentally resurrected, who's going to understand this? The importance and can even accomplish it.
Where's the leadership? I don't get it. I mean, I honestly don't get why these guys would think that this is the individual. It's just weird to me. That's all I'm saying. With all these facts that we're presenting, and that's what the books, this information is teaching. And for Nuwaupians out there, do not stop being fooled by these guys. Because one, he's disingenuous. Unfortunately, the brother's disingenuous because he's reading this information, he's just ignoring it. I guess like Christians do that. They read the Bible, but they're ignoring so many things that the Bible is teaching. So, I mean, it is what it is. But now, so that's our 9 facts that show, I hope we did a great job of showing detail by detail that Amunnubi Rooakhptah is the same as Afroo OoNoo, who is none other than Dr. York.
But wait, we got a +1, don't we? I remember +1 on there. Give him the icing on the cake.
9 plus 1. Well, listen to this. Go to Nature, right? Book 2, paragraph 192. Nature, book 2, paragraph 192.
What's that say?
And it says this. This is a quote now. This is a quote. So go to paragraph 192. It says, Noon asks people to believe nothing. Just check out Noon information for yourself. I'll repeat. Noon asks people to believe nothing. Don't believe us. Just check out Noon information for yourself. So really, Afroo OoNoo still Dr. York's catchphrase, don't believe me, check it out.
Don't believe me. Check it out.
Yeah. I was gonna say how long the master Dr. York been saying that, and we do say that book came out in 1993. We know how long the master's been saying that.
Don't believe me, check it out. Dr. Yorkland is still that catchphrase. The master teacher been saying this. I know. He's been saying this. Right. He's been saying this since the Ansar's days. So obviously it's the other way around. Why?
Yeah, why would you steal someone's catchphrase?
Right. What do you mean? If it's not the same individual, why would he have the same catchphrase? Don't believe me? Check this information out. What sense does that make?
None. You just wouldn't do it. I mean.
So those are the 9 plus 1. So go over those facts, and now we're gonna pick up on some more. Just, I guess I have a couple more things, right, that we want to address on this subject matter, and I'm gonna kind of breeze through these. Right, I'm gonna breeze through these. So again, let's take the time out to do that.
Don't believe me? Look it up.
So again, the purpose of this particular discussion, this lecture, is to show, and this is particularly for Nuwaupians and for those individuals who've been studying our information and researching and are hearing all these negative and adverse stuff about us, especially pertaining to the master teacher and his plagiarizing. That's why we're putting this out, because of all of the disagreeable things that the individual Tarnoon has put out. And so I hope the 9 plus 1 question, how do we call that? Facts, the 9 plus 1 facts that we put out, address all of those things in detail. But now we have some more, a little bit more. I mean, it's so much information. I mean, we can't condense it. Yeah, we can't cover it all. And this recording is longer than we typically try to put information out. But it's so much information that we just gotta kind of get it out there. But I'm gonna run through these things quicker. And this is pertaining to book 2. So most of these things I'm gonna cite are in the Nature book 2. Okay. But before I do that, what I want to talk about, I'm going to go to the Nature book 1, and I want to address some obvious things about something that I think we need to take into consideration. This is really for Nuwaupians, okay? Okay. And brothers have brought this up. The brother on the Malachi disciple, right? He made this point that we're about to make. Okay?
Talking about the brother Clemson.
The brother Clemson, right? Clemson, as he pronounced his name. The nature information, the 4 books, and this is something the brother who he said on Sarnet, and this is very disturbing when he said this. He said that the 4 books in the nature has more knowledge than our whole doctrine. The 4 books in the nature has more knowledge than our whole doctrine. And that's like, wow, what kind of statement is that to make? I mean, that's insane. How can 4 books have more information than 1,000 books that we put out?
Yeah. If that's exactly how you worded it too, it's like, that's just... Where are our perceptions at?
Yeah, that's scary. How is that possible? I mean, I'm sure Tarnoon's like, yeah! He's right! Exactly! I already know where he's coming from with it.
But it's like, okay, 4 beats 1,000.
I'm talking to the reasonable people out there, not the flat earth people. The reasonable people out there that can think straight. How can 4 books outweigh 1,000 books?
Especially when 1,000
on history, religious origins, language, right? Your culture, dress, hygiene. I mean, it's just unbelievable the amount of information.
Interdimensional reality.
Right, metaphysical teachings. I mean, it's just overwhelming knowledge about culture pertaining to black people. Thousands and thousands of people have been uplifted by the teachings of Panabab Yanana, Dr. Malachi Z. York. Whether they like him or don't like him, they've been influenced in a positive way. And I repeat, and this is, those who know Tarnoon, find out how many Nooniboos, right, that became Nooniboo that either wasn't a student of Dr. York or wasn't influenced by a student of Dr. York. They just like fresh off the block, went into a bookstore, bought the Nature Nature books, and it's like, I'm a Nooniboo now, right? They was a straight hardcore Christian, or they was a straight hardcore Muslim, or whatever. And they comprehended the books, and they were like, I'm down for the cause. How many of those people? Because see, these individuals who are saying that, like Huhi Ka, you had the benefit of being under the teachers of the master teacher, which is why you could comprehend these books. In all honesty, I like to know, honestly, and that's an honest question, I like to know how many Nooniboos out there that hasn't been influenced by the master teacher, because they don't want to give him credit for that.
No, they don't.
That they wouldn't even comprehend this information if it wasn't for the doctrine.
He helped raise them mentally. Like, how many people can comprehend Noon science without, in some way, being influenced by Noon in the flesh?
Whatever. But anyway, to address this whole 4 books, how can 4 books with that emits is just an introduction? The Nature the book is really one book, I'll be honest with you, because it's really part 1, part 2. The Nature is really one composite of information. How can these 4 books, right, that one, and this goes back to the other point, it says it's just an introduction and an outline. It says it in book 1, it says it in book 2, but for those who need to know, all you gotta do is go to book 1, paragraph 3. Book 1, paragraph 3. Read, and I'm gonna read. It says right here, therefore, the Ethiopian race needs more mental and physical help at this time than other racial posterities, right? So, for the sake and benefit of the Ethiopian race, this book is an outline and introduction to the true culture legacy of the race with kinky hair. And since these writings are only an introduction to original Ethiopian culture, there is much more to be written and much more to be disclosed. Where's all this much more to be written and much more to be disclosed? Because all you got was an intro.
Matter of fact, we talked about it. I remember, where was that? On the First Contact video, when he was asking Mrs. Brown.
First Contact with who? Who are you talking about?
Tarnoon phone call, his first contact with Mrs. Brown. He asked her, you remember one of the main questions? One of the only
so you're
few
saying
questions.
That, so you talking about when Tarnoon put out a video
called First Contact.
Called First Contact, where he's talking to Mr. Brown's
wife.
Okay, great.
Mrs. Brown. And, he didn't ask her many questions at all. But one of the few questions he did ask was, where's all the rest of the books?
Now, there was a lot of books. I think I left 3 books in Newark, at the bookstore in Newark.
Just book 3?
Yes.
Okay.
They paid me 10 and I left 10.
Okay. What about the other stuff? How much writings did he have left that happened?
This was it. This was the last one that he did, because this is actually this is a summary of the 1 and 2 book. This is something like he just put together.
Right.
With a summary of both books.
Okay. So there's no more writings?
Summarizing it. No. This is the summary of it. Yes, this is it.
Okay. What about the other stuff? How much writings did he have left that happened?
This was it. This was the
He asked her.
Right.
I really wondered, of all the questions we would have wanted you to ask,
right.
or you should have asked, why was that a question that you even had? Did he write anything else? Where are the other books?
Like I said, it's an introduction. Other than what's that? Tarnunet?
Yeah, when she
said it's a complete introduction.
Is that more ad-libbing?
It's a complete introduction. I'm like, okay, it can be a complete introduction. It can be a humongous introduction.
Yeah.
It can be a colossal introduction.
It could be 110% introduction.
But an introduction is a damn introduction.
It's like, we need to put that definition up. What is an introduction?
What is that? What does that mean? I'm like, how can you guys start your organization and all y'all have is an introduction to your knowledge base? That doesn't make any sense. All you have is an introduction. And you're the firstborn of the dead, the wisest one among us is going to be an introvert and not explain none of these things? Nothing? Y'all really think absolute nature, that's how absolute nature gets down? That I don't
like by chance, just let
because it says he said part of the abilities of Afroo OoNoo is to have the knowledge of NoopooH and ZuuPoo.
Yeah. Okay?
So that means he should be able to navigate in ZuuPoo to get things done, to make things happen.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be affected by. I'm like where Tarnu has to be his champion.
Yeah, I was gonna say he has to be this. What is that? Once in every 72 million years. That's only one being. It's like if you're gonna be that, it's like you got to be really powerful to be able to pull up this snap.
You get that right.
One being in 72 million years. You got to be really powerful to bring up the.
Man, it's insane. Not only that, here's the point. Here's the point. Because Tarnu don't want to hear this Amunnubi stuff, right? He says that Mr. Brown is Amunnubi. Everyone knows, Tarnu knows this, everyone knows that the master teacher, Dr. York, put it to the test. Because people were challenging us. That's why he put out this book, Nuwaupu and Amunnubi Rooakhptah, Fact or Fiction, and he put out this book. Does Dr. Malakazi York try to hide the fact that he was Imam Isa, right?
Okay. When did those books come out?
These books, this one, 95, 96.
Okay. So
95.
Tarnu did he say
96.
He came out right then? He
95, 96. Huh?
So he said he came in the doctrine right then, right?
I don't know.
95.
I don't know what year he came in the doctrine. But check this out. This is when 95, right? So this is when
right when that book was
Mr.
put
Brown,
out.
yeah, they put the book out, right? The book 2, 95, book 3 was already out. So now you have a challenge. Because anyone can see, we're putting out the same information. This is what we're talking about, right knowledge, blah, blah, blah. So if you got Dr. York telling the whole freaking world that he's Amunnubi, and Mr. Brown didn't challenge it, that's that brother who put up the video about us. He brought up that question, he said, because he was like, it's a shame that Mr. Brown never challenged it, but anyway. I'm like, yeah, maybe Mr. Brown didn't challenge it because he knew he wasn't Amunnubi with Rooakhptah. Y'all didn't think of that one, did you?
No, that can't be possible for them. Anything but that.
I'm like, come on now, you got somebody, and think about this. If Dr. York is claiming his identity, he's claiming Mr. Brown's pseudonym, right? He's claiming his identity, stealing his birthright, so to speak, like an Esau type of thing. And he says nothing?
No, especially from their point of view, because they say he's misusing all the information. He's turning it and twisting it. It's like
exactly
the reformer.
Exactly.
The first one of the dead is going to let him just
just
destroy the mission.
Just destroy the mission. That Tanu, how many years later he got to come around?
What is that?
How many years later Tanu got to come around?
That's 95, because he didn't start this till maybe, 2015, so 20 years?
So Tanu, so we had to wait 20 years for Tanu is the real liberator. Tanu's gonna clean it up.
Fix everything.
because Mr. Brown couldn't do it himself.
No.
What the hell is that?
No. It's like.
Are y'all listening to this?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't get this. I'm like, what kind of thinking do we got?
Well, that's a problem. Like we said, like the book say, too much thinking, not enough reasoning.
That doesn't make any sense.
Enough reasoning.
That doesn't make any sense. And let's say this. Let's say Mr. Brown is everything, right? He is, right? And then Dr. Who does that. But Mr. Brown says nothing.
He must be teaching all right then, right? He must be. Doing a great job. If he didn't say nothing.
So why is Tarnoon going off?
Matter of fact, when I think about it now, I'm like, because from the 60s, if the elder claimed that the master was going by Amunnubi Rooakhptah back then. So like you wait, he's allowing him to teach all this stuff for 60 years.
Listen, here's my point. Okay. Here's my. Why is Tarnoon even addressing this in the first place? Why is this even an issue? Who told Tarnoon to get on Sinetta and tell the world that Dr. York is Afroo OoNoo? Who told them to do that?
And we are the House of Consciousness Family. Black Power.
Greetings to everybody out there in the YouTube community. I'm going to send my thanks and gratitude out to the House of Consciousness. I never allowed me to come in here and deliver this information to y'all. And I hope that I get a chance to clear up some of the stuff that I said on the last YouTube, which I'm going to go back into. And so I think the first thing we want to start off with is religion and the definition of religion and what it means. And I'm coming out of the 9-ball book that Doc put out in 1971. And in the back of the book he has some really good definitions of what religion means, so people to stop getting confused thinking that he was teaching religion without knowing and understanding what it really was. Now this all the way into 1971, and he defined when all necessary major questions about the Bible have been asked by, answered for, and known to and understood by the so-called Negro, he and she would then be qualified for his or her own spiritual science, which is Nuwaupu, or in the nature knowledge called NoopooH, which is a different variation of the same word.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? And you know why I bring that up? Because what I gotta do is go back to the transcript, right? The transcript book.
That's right.
Go to third paragraph. And it says right here, it says, when it talks about who Afroo OoNoo is, it says, Afroo OoNoo is originally from the Sudan in motherland Africa. He definitely is a member of the African race, also called the black race. Then he goes on to say, you personally need to know the writer of this positive knowledge, not nearly so as much as you need to know this correct information he has written. I'll repeat that. He says, you personally need to know the writer of this positive knowledge, not nearly so much as you need to know this correct information. So he didn't say you don't need to know the author of this information, but he said it's not really that important. What is important is the information itself. Don't worry about the actual author. And he repeats that twice in this book. He repeats it in the other book, Are You Searching for Knowledge? He makes that clear. Don't worry about the author like that. So I go back to my point. Why did this brother get out there and tell the world that Dr. York is Afroo OoNoo? Just to make himself look silly and has to recant what he said. He said, nah, I was wrong. Dr. York is a plagiarizing, blah, blah, blah.
And then being negative about it. Your mistake.
I know, right?
Your mistake.
I'm like, what is wrong with this? I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Why did he do it in the first place?
Right.
And if Mr. Brown had to know who Dr. York is, he had to know who Dr. York is. Well, I don't know why he didn't bother. Well, did he ask his wife?
He did, because remember they talked about. Remember he started talking about the master, getting kidnapped and all that. Because she said she recognized him. She just didn't hear about him getting, taken. And,
all right.
Yeah.
Well,
she knew about him. Maybe,
I don't know what that means, but my point is this. Apparently, Mr. Brown didn't have an issue with Dr. York. So if the wife knew about Dr. York, obviously, I can only presume she knew because of her husband, right? Her husband never said anything. He never said anything for all those years. Not a word. But yet Mr. Tarnoon takes it upon himself to be the champion. He's the liberator. What? Afroo OoNoo, that's the other point. Afroo OoNoo, according to the Nature Nation, is the liberator of our people with this information, with this knowledge. But he never goes out there to teach nobody. He goes out to liberate no one. All his students come after the fact.
Like the whole let it be known always. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. It's like,
What sense does that make? Alright, whatever. Let's keep it moving. There's some other points we want to bring up. Very important. Here's the other point. Now, if we go to this is book 2, right? Nature, book 2, paragraph 191. And I'm going to quote. It says this. Therefore, one does not look in the Bible for the whole truth, but for bits of correct information that might help verify the truth after one finds and gets the truth from nature and right reason. So now it's justifying being able to use the nature. Nature is justifying using the Bible, provided you understand, you have right knowledge, that you understand how to get basically this truth using, kind of the same way the master teacher used the Bible and used the religious document.
You can use the Bible to teach nature knowledge. That's what it's saying.
That's what I'm getting. You need to, you can go into the Bible to dissect the truth if you have nature knowledge.
If you have nature knowledge.
If you have nature knowledge, then you can basically do it. So that's paragraph 191. So they kind of, and it's the Bible interpretations and explanations back that up in book 1, paragraph 28. If you look at book 1, paragraph 28, it kind of says the same exact thing. Let's keep it moving. Now, if you go to paragraph 10, check this one out. Paragraph 10 in book 2, and I'm gonna read. This is quote. It says this: it has also been determined by sound right reasoning, based on existing evidence, the planet Earth and the rest of the universe, as well as the other universes, will last for another 72 million years, because in the first place, 9 mentality, which is NoopooH, has arrived and settled in for the past 32 years. That is to say, since the year 1962, listen carefully, since the year 1962, although it has been very tedious to do so. Okay? Secondly, though it is very difficult, the science noon is making progress on resurrection of the mental dead and mental liberation of the Ethiopian people. I'll read that again.
Please do.
Pay attention. I'll read this again. This is paragraph 10. Okay? This is book 2 of the Nature. It says this: it has also been determined by sound right reason, based on existing evidence, the planet Earth and the rest of the universe, as well as other universes, will last for another 72 million years. Because, in the first place, nine mentality, which is NoopooH, has arrived and settled in for the past 32 years now, right? Because remember, book 2 was written in 95, so it's been 32 years that it's saying NoopooH settled in for the last 32 years. That is to say, since the year 1962, although it has been very tedious to do so. What does he mean by that? Tedious. That means someone's working, trying to do something. It's been
day
tedious.
By day, person by person.
Trying to raise NoopooH, right? It's
question by question.
For 32 years. Then he goes on to say, secondly, though it's very difficult, the science noon is making progress on resurrection of the mental dead and mental liberation of the Ethiopian race. So now he's saying he's been working to using the science noon. He's been resurrecting our people, the mental dead, for the last 32 years. And this is in 1995. So he's been resurrecting what group of people? Again, no disrespect, but what group of people that Mr. Brown has been resurrecting for the last 32 years, since 95? That means you would count from 1962 all the way to 1995, he's resurrecting. I thought he was working for the post office. I thought, according to his obituary, he kind of couldn't really do his mission until he retired. No disrespect.
That's what the obituary says. Whoever wrote that.
Whoever wrote it, right? Because Mr. Brown didn't write that obituary. So, but in the obituary they put it that he's Afroo OoNoo. But he didn't do nothing that Afroo OoNoo said that he did.
Especially, the detail of that says, known science has been helping to resurrect, meaning question and answer. Known science is the ethereal question and answer science. So he's had to have been answering some questions and answers through that whole period.
It says that he's been raising our people to mental dead. Obviously, now you put that to Dr. York. He's been doing that through the whole Ansar doctrine. He's been raising a conscious awareness of our people, about their spiritual nature, because that's what this is about. Spiritual ignorance, right, and racial indifference. Spiritual ignorance and racial blindness. That's the whole basis of our whole doctrine. Our whole organization as Ansars was teaching our racial identity, who we are as a black people, that we're Nubians, right? We come from Nubia, that we are the first and we're the original people, right? And that we have a spiritual origin, that we've dropped down. That's what our whole doctrine is teaching about, how Adam was cast down from Malakut, that we've dropped down. We have to raise ourselves back up spiritually to go from Nasut, the physical realm where we were, to Malakut, to the abode of the angelic beings, to Lahut, the realm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is, by the way, NoopooH, the realm of NoopooH, Lahut, for all those who don't understand that. But anywho, so that's paragraph 10. But let's keep it moving, because I want to bring up two more things on this subject matter, which is also interesting. One, I like to tell people to read paragraph 376, because he deals with the religion question again, something that they keep hitting us with. The Nuwaupu's in this religion, and yet all throughout the nature, the whole objective of the nature talks about is how to survive Armageddon.
That's right.
How to survive. If that's not a religious concept, I'm like, why are you dogging us out for focusing on using religious concepts? And
book 2 is full of Bible quotes all through it.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get where this guy, he teaches religion. But anyway, so that's not for the Nuwaupu guys, because for whatever reason they can't comprehend it. That's for the listener audience. But here, let's keep it moving. Here's another important point, though. I think that we need to look at if we go to book 2, paragraph 382. This is very important. I'm not going to read this one because it's long. But if you go to book 2, paragraph 382, right? And then you go to this book that the master teacher put out. It's called Breaking the Spell. Breaking the Spell. Now this version, because there's a couple versions of this. This version came out in 1995. We all know that book 2 of the Nature came out also in 1995. They both came the same exact year. Now, this book says it came out in February. I don't know when this particular book was released. I don't know what month this book was released. But here's the point. If you go to this book and you go to page 112, I don't know if you can get this online on Scribs or not, so people can verify this.
Which edition is that of Breaking the Spell?
This is scroll number 43, but it's like I think it's the first one that the master wrote on this subject. And so this
we can clearly see it on the camera, so. Yeah,
this came out in 95, right? So for those who can see it, maybe we can post.
Yeah, we'll copy it so people can see it.
They can read it, because you can go a side-by-side comparison, right? And so if you read paragraph, this is Nature book 2, paragraph 382. It's the exact same thing. It would be a classic example of plagiarism, like as a Chuck, like the yeah, it's the exact same information. It talks about a story. The story is about. It's a unique story. It's not something you hear all the time, because it's explaining the religion, really, about Jesus and how Jesus died on the cross and blah blah blah. And it's explaining that that's an ancient story that they got from our ancestors, but it was talking about the zodiacs and how the nature of the sun and the earth and blah blah blah. And so that it relates that whole story, and it's like almost a word for word carbon copy of that's in the nature. Both books came out the same exact year. So it had to be written by the same individual. The same individual. Now either Dr. York, right, knew when Johnny Brown was going to put out the Nature, and he's like, wait till that book come out and I'm going to plagiarize it from it, right?
And then took a very specific passage.
At the same exact time. Now, I don't even know when this came out, because this book could have came out in January of that year. I don't know if it came out in January. That's only other Nuwaupians who might know when this book actually came out. This will prove that Dr. York had to have written the Nature, because it's the exact same thing. Unless Johnny Brown was plagiarizing from Dr. York. Unless you're going to look at it the other way.
And that's weird in itself, because it's like, the point is, those books both came out so close to each other, to come out in the same year, for either one of them to take that type of passage that you're saying.
I mean, it's identical. It's identical. Especially, it's such a unique story. Not to mention, look at the name of the book, Breaking the Spell.
Breaking the Spell.
Really? Which is what the Nature is dedicated to, breaking the spell on blacks. It's the same. He puts out the same type of information, really, the same exact year, had the exact same quote. So again, here's the other thing. People will ask this question. Okay, they may say that you proved your point. Right? We overwhelmed you with facts. I hope we did.
Unless we gotta make another video. We got enough to make another video.
Here's the question though. Why would Dr. York do that? Why would he put out the Nature books like that?
That's true. Like anonymously.
Yeah, why would he do that? Then the other issue is, because Tarnoon keeps showing those letters. Why would he write those letters denying that he's Afroo OoNoo?
Yeah. Why is this anonymous, period?
Why would he do that? Well, I can't answer that question. What is it? Unequivocally.
Okay.
I can give clues to the answers. I can give clues to the answers to why it was done exactly like that. I have my own reasons, but the master teacher, he does kind of explains and give you some reference to why he did that. Why did he put out these books like that? Why did he write books like that? Well, I'll lead people to get this particular book where he kind of gives the answer. He gives the answer why he did this or why he does this. This is one of the debate books. Okay, this debate book was the answers and questions. Here we go again. Questions and answers. Okay. Questions and answers, debates and discussions, series, book number 6. Now, this is on Scribs. Or Scribes. How do you pronounce that?
Scribed.
Is it Scribed? Okay, Scribed. Yeah. This is on there so people can get this for free. Right? You can download it for free and get this book. And you can look at it, right? So now, let's go here. We're going to go to page... We're going to start at page 7. And I'll read. This is question and answer. And it's going to kind of, I think, address some of these subject matters that we've been talking about. Why would Dr. do this?
Okay.
Why would he do this? So again, this book came out in 1995. It came out the exact same year.
Same year.
as the last Nature book.
A lot of these books coming out the same year. That's strange.
Some with that 95. I know there's something with that 93.
Yeah.
Because that's a cycle change.
Oh yeah.
That's a vortex thing.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of, we changed doctrines on 93 to 90, 93. But anyway, let's keep it moving. So now we have, this is, where am I? These are students. Most of these people are students were asking question and answer.
Okay. So I guess just to give context, this is an online forum.
This is online. The master teacher used to go online. Used to bug me out too. Because he used to go online. I had a computer. I used to see him online because I used to be on YouTube.
You said
on AOL.
People just really got access to the internet and all that stuff.
Yeah, 90, like for 95 too. Cause
matter of fact, that might be hard for, I don't know if there's any young people watching this, but you know, you had dial-up, internet and all that. That was a big thing.
To AOL. So yeah, man, he did this because I know I was online. I used to see him on the chat rooms all the time. I used to bug out. I was like, "Pussy, why are you on it?" Because he honestly be going back and forth with people answering questions, and he was extraordinarily accessible. Yeah. Extraordinarily accessible.
Trying to answer people questions.
Constantly. I personally witnessed that. But anyway, let's keep it moving, right? So I'm going to read this one, okay? Starting at, I'm going to start at page, I'm going to start at page 5, actually. Let me do this. Because people talk, this is when we kind of made that shift, right? Out of being Ansars, and that was a whole nother, that was a serious shift. But anyway, so a lot of questions are coming from that point of view. It says this, person named Muhammad, why did you make such a drastic change from one way of living to the one we are living now? Because people were asking, man, that was a big change. Trust me, it was. Okay? So here's the master answer. He says, more specific, what exactly are you talking about? He says. And then the next question, although we aren't Ansars anymore, do we still follow the sacraments, right? The master says, excuse me, I don't know what you mean by we, but I was born in Ansar and I will die in Ansar Allah, he says, right? So, now, let's move on. He goes into next question he's asked. What about all of the children who left the community and all the old timers who were the first fruits? Master says this. He says, I always did teach the first fruits would be faithful to the doctrine but not true to the community. A lot of them are brothers who don't want to let go of polygamy. A lot of them blame it on the community living, he says. Then they ask him the question, do you think they will ever return? Right? He says this. Well, this year, that is 1995, I've heard from more old timers who are reading the right knowledge and remember that this is what I was teaching in the beginning and they're coming home. So now, obviously there was groups of brothers and sisters who knew the master way back when, that he was teaching as Amunnubi or Rooakhptah, other than Chef Otis, because they still don't want to accept him.
No, they won't accept
but I'm like, go find there's more than one brother out there. You can go find him if you think he's lying. But anyway, let's keep moving. He goes on to say, do you still believe in the law? I'm going to skip that, because that's not important. He moves on. I'm going to move on to the next page. Why is it necessary to make changes in our society? They ask him. He says, anything that's not changing or metamorphosizing, for a more accurate word, is dead. And for years, I taught the only real thing is change. Sometimes situations cause one to have to modernize for protection of their people. So, and any so-called leader that does not have enough sense to see the world and what is going through and let their congregation be harassed and even killed is a fool, right? Then he goes on, then another question. When you first began the Ansar way, did you know that there was going to be an eventual transition? He says, question, Master answers, yes. I always taught from day one. If you ask any of the old timers about everything that we're doing, I told them to expect it. Then the next question, why have you chosen to be known by so many different names? Answer, he says, at times you write a book with information in it that the people need, but because leadership is jealous of you, they may tell their congregation not to read it. Now he says, if you put it under a pseudo name, they will read it and maybe find out who you are, and then find out that they need to change leaders. So now, here's the master talking about writing books in pseudo names.
So they won't judge the actual leader.
So he won't be judged by that.
That sounds like something like, what? It's more important. The information is more important.
That's right.
Than the informer. What?
That's what
the
it sounds
message
like.
Is more important than the messenger.
You need to know the writer of this information not nearly as much as you need to know the information itself. That's a quote from exactly from the nature of nature. But let's keep it moving. He goes on to say, and they asked him, since you've changed from Islam to HCM, do you still have all your different personalities? Are you still being channeled? They said, right? He answered, first of all, the word Islam means peaceful, and we are still peaceful. All we do is teach the facts and are hated for that. I was always a channel. They were communicating with me from the soul side before I was even born, and I merely grew into what they were grooming me to be. That is Melchizedek of this day and time, he says. Then he asks him, do you consider your laws divine? Answer, our laws are as divine to us as yours are to you, coming through a mortal man, as Al-Quran coming through Muhammad, a mortal man. Or all the books of the New Testament coming through mortal man, or the Torah, the 5 books of Moses coming through mortal man. Then he goes on to say, we look at our book, the Holy Tablets, as divinely inspired from the All. And the fact that none of you were able to prove anything wrong in any of our teachings since they were revealed from 1970 on to this present day. Not to mention that many of you read books and pamphlets written under pseudonames and respected them and didn't know that I authored them, proves that even you feel that this is supernatural. So now here again, he says he's written books under pseudonames, but people don't know that he's authored them. So that's the kind of touch on the answer to the question, why would he put these books out in pseudonames? Why would he do that? He kind of gives you the answer why he would do something like that. Is put out books and pseudonames for the sole purpose of the information is important. He needs to get the information out there. I'm sure there's other reasons why he's doing it. I'm speculating, but I'm going on the information that's been put out there for us to.
When I heard that, I thought of a reason myself. You know, I could be speculating, but it sounds like you're saying some people might be more focused on the actual leader or someone who is actually delivering the information than the information itself. Some people might be out here negatively judging the leader and not looking at is the leader teaching facts or not.
Well, the other issue is the information itself. It says it in the Nature Nation, we brought this up, that new knowledge, that's tough to deal with. Because, like you said, it gives us salvation. And because our people have such a religious mind, that's a process. You have to raise people in degrees of intellect to be able to receive it. Or they'll just outright reject you. That's why I put the challenge to Tarnoon. If you think this is so easy teaching new knowledge, then go into churches. Let me see you convert them. Go into mosques, convert them. Convert these brothers and sisters out there. That's your obligation anyway, to God, to bring the truth to our people, to help elevate and raise their mind. And don't forget, Noon teaches by question and answer. So you're obligated to teach by question and answer if you're going to call yourself a Noonibu. Okay? And so do it. It's easy to criticize the master teacher and how he does it and the way he does things, but if you have a better way, then do it better. Prove individuals incorrect. Prove them wrong. I think we proved you guys wrong. I think we proved our point, what we're saying by showing all of these facts. The facts speaks for themselves about who Afroo OoNoo is, what his obligations are, and anyone can clearly see that Mr. Brown did not live up to any of those obligations. And when you compare it to the master teacher, Dr. York, he fulfilled every last obligation. Every last obligation. And we go back to Afroo OoNoo going to have the same catchphrase as Dr. York. Don't believe me, check it out. Really?
The same titles.
Yeah, the same titles, the same. I mean,
firstborn and then like new knowledge taught, and then you have a Yanun, universe scientist.
This is why I say, listen, everyone take your time out. It's a lot of information that we put out. Go over all of the facts that we put out, and this is particular again for Nuwaupians. This is our information. This is our information. I'm not stressing for Nuwaupians to study the nature because listen, our doctrine, it gives you everything we need. But the nature is what it says. It's an outline. It gives you an outline how absolute nature operates and works. And it's complementary to our doctrine. In fact, I would argue that the book we put out, the Wisdom of Tahuti, and the nature are like, they fit like a glove. They fit like a glove. They really do. And so from that point of view, I kind of recommend for true students that's really into studying the doctrine to look at it, because you'll see it answers things that kind of like vague in our doctrine. It answers a lot of stuff. But here's the point. When you study the actual facts, the master teacher is updating the nature information by way of the actual facts anyway. Anyhow. This is why Tarnoon keeps saying they're plagiarizing from the nature.
So much stuff that is identical.
Yeah, it's anyone can see as an update, just like the nature is an update from the 9-ball. Because when you look at the 9-ball, count 4, and just all you got to do is go to the 9-ball book 4, right, and go to the section where it talks about the origins of the universe. And just read the first paragraph. It tells you literally that it's about the nature. It's in it. Read it.
It says that like what, 5-6 times. The nature.
Yeah, it's like nature. So that's for Nuwaupians who already understand that the master teacher is Amunnubi Rooakhptah, and you know the master put out the 9-ball, right? So if you're still in doubt, all you gotta do is go to the 9-ball, count 4, go to the section where it talks about the origin of the universe, and it's literally exactly what's in the nature of nature. In fact, the nature of nature is a continuation. And you know that because if you look at the 9-ball, count 4 again, go to page 1, each count in the 9-ball tells you what the but the next publication is going to talk about, right? So there was supposed to be a 9-ball part 5, apparently never came out. But it came out through the nature. The nature is really part 5 of the 9-ball. Because when you look at part 4 of the 9-ball, it tells you what part 5, what the topics are going to be. Mm-hmm. And one of the topics, it says it's going to now introduce you to the 2 worlds. It doesn't say it like, the 2 worlds are the worlds of Nuwaupu and the worlds of Zupu. Now it doesn't use that terminology, but it uses the terminology, the 2 worlds. And when you're reading the part 4, it addresses the 2 worlds. It just doesn't go into detail, excuse me, the way the nature does.
So this talks about what the opposite to the universe.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. So again, the nature just it's a continuation of what was already put out in the 9-ball. But now, like I said, in the actual facts, the master teacher is updating. Okay? And not only that, if you look at the symbols that we're using, and we'll show you the symbols and match them up side by side, that the symbols we're putting on the actual fact books come straight out of the nature. Literally. Now, why would the master teacher steal the nature symbols? This is what Tarnoon and them was arguing about. Why would he take them if it wasn't our symbols from the get-go? So what I'm saying is, look at those symbols, right? So you can see, because I think that's important. And I mean, this video, like I said, it's long. It's a lot of information. Look at it more than once. We can go on and on, but I hope we give it enough, because I mean, it was a lot. It's a lot we put out there. Before you have any questions and concerns, I highly recommend watch this video more than once. Also watch the Amunnubi videos that he put out, the proof, parts 1, parts 2, parts 3, because I argue it's a complementary to our videos, as well as with the Malachi disciple, what he put out with the brother Khensu, who addresses the subject matter. It's also a compliment. Before I forget, let me just address this thing real quick. The letters, right? Yes. Why would the master write those letters and say he's not Afroo OoNoo? When you look at the letters, here's the thing. And the letters, I think, were written in 2006, 2007.
That's right.
People don't know what was going on in our organization in 2006, 2007. We'll post a letter, first of all, and showing you, and you'll see this. The letter that you're looking at now, this is a letter where the master's talking about he wants to shut everything down and switch everything we were dealing with the lodge. And he wants to switch everything from the lodge to the ancient Egyptian order. This is what pissed off Rick, by the way. Okay, because
how he even got that?
Yeah, that's where Tarnoon says he got his letters from Rick. According to Tarnoon, Rick gave those letters. Yeah, but Rick didn't give you the backstory, what Rick's issues were. Because when Rick was on that little show with you guys, on that the Sixth Dynasty show, he explained his falling out with the organization was in 2007. And then by 2009, he was done, right?
Sure.
Well,
what's the context?
He didn't tell you why he was, what the issue was, why he was done in 2007. Basically, he kind of alludes to it, and all. Bottom line, he was taken out of power, and he was pissed off because he thought the brothers were doing a great job at the lodge, and the master was like, "Nope, shut it down. We ain't dealing with that. We're all about AEL." That's why he's on this whole kick about trying to show that the master teacher don't know nothing about Egypt and blah blah blah. And he's with the Amunnubi squad. They really know about Egypt. There was issues there. My point is that he chose to put that out for issues. But now, why would the master teacher deny this Afroo OoNoo claim at the time? Because the organization was fractured. Honestly, it was fractured in 2006. 2007, there was a big fight, big issue, which got to the point where the lodge had to be shut down. So I'm now speculating the master's trying to hold the organization together as much as he can, and so anybody can see at that time it was a lot of issues. This is why I personally, right, knowing what I already knew about it, in 2009, I said this. I put this out to Tarnuna. Listen, because brothers who kept pushing the issue, because I was trying to tell brothers at that time, stop trying to push the issue with this nature thing, because it was very sensitive. It was very sensitive. Brothers got banned from coming to the building meetings. They got banned. So all I can say is from what I've seen personally, it's like, why push it? We have our own doctrine. Brothers didn't want to hear it. We had so many other issues going on, whatever. So from the master's point of view, why open up that can of worms? Let it be.
That was definitely not the time to be addressing those things. Let it be.
Yeah. But brothers like Tarnoon, they want it. So you get on Starnet and it's like, Dr. York is Afroo OoNoo. And I'm like, really? Really? You know, it's like, let it be. But brothers didn't want to do that. He surely didn't want to do it.
Nor does the book tell you you're supposed to do that. Nature does not tell you. That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I took it upon myself in 2009. I was working with the master's niece, Fatima. Me and other brothers were working on the case. We were trying to help with the case. Working with Fatima. Fatima was visiting the master. And, you know, these questions were still coming up. Nah, the master already said he's not no African. I'm like, listen, if you have read the information and you see all the facts, you clearly see it's the same doctrine. That's our doctrine, plain and simple. Anyone can clearly see that. So I gave my copy. I told Fatima, here's my copy of the Nature, right? Get it to him. Let him have it. Let him read it, go through it, and I want you to look him in the eye and ask him directly, is that or is that not your information? And according to Fatima, anyone can check this out, she went and did it. She went and did it. Just ask her. Okay? She gave him my personal copy. Because I had one set of copies. I got copies now. I ain't gonna go into how I got it, but she gave it to him. Apparently he looked at it, whatever, and she asked him. She said she asked him. And she said, are you not the author of this? And his response, according to her, is, what do you think? So, if that's true, then all that recanting that he's not, you know, Afroo OoNoo, right? And that was back in 2006, 2007, when he was put on a spot with the information and his niece asked him, he didn't answer straight questions. He didn't answer straight. He was just like, what do you think? Basically. So he left it up in the air. So if it wasn't him, that was his time to recant once again for his niece. Not only that, Tarnoon makes this other point. He promoted that book, the Man of Many Faces, right? We have that. I'll put up the letter where he says that he wants students to read that book. When you get that book, Tarnoon points that out. That it shows Afroo OoNoo is one of the names of the master.
One of all the attributes.
Exactly.
It's a whole bunch of them.
Exactly. Not only that, in our books we have now, why is he putting Afroo OoNoo's name in it? We'll show it. It's in the it's in the Akasha records. Afroo OoNoo is one of the seven. What is it?
The seven angels. They're supposed to pour out the vials.
Why would Afroo OoNoo be there? Why would Afroo OoNoo be there if the master teacher isn't connected to him? Why would he put his name there? Think about that. And this is for Nuwaupu. You know Tarnoon's gonna be like, yeah, because so this is not for those brothers, because they gonna go negative. They gonna no
matter what they say, they're gonna try to twist and change words, like reinterpret stuff.
That's all they gonna do.
Ain't no need for interpretation, like the book say.
Whatever. So, because he gonna take our video and he gonna try to dissect it, and you know. So again, this is for the intelligent among us.
And those who are sincere, those who are real.
Yes, those who are sincere. Those sincere. And I want to repeat, we at NoopooH meant no disrespect to the Brown family, right? Honestly, because they're not a part of this. They're not dealing with this craziness.
And especially according to what Mr. Brown claimed he did a great job in helping push the mission forward.
Yes.
I mean, he did a great job.
Yes, getting the books out and stuff like that. So Mr. Brown identified himself as Nuwaupu, a chief representative of Afroo OoNoo. Two distinct individuals. So, I mean, that should have been a no-brainer right there. We shouldn't even have to make any kind of video like this. But it is what it is. Now, as far as why Mr. Brown's wife, that's a good question. Why she's saying that her husband is Afroo OoNoo, that's a legitimate question. I don't know. I don't know why Tarnoon didn't ask her. Why those, the contradiction is there. Why is she saying what her husband did not say? And put out for, because that's like it's like a will and testimony, right? It's like, if I write a will and I say I'm leaving all my money to my girlfriend, okay? But then the wife comes to I'm dead now. The wife comes to the lawyers, like he said he's gonna leave all the money to me.
Very funny.
Now what do you think the lawyer gonna go with?
What was written on the
What's
paper?
my testimony?
Yeah,
My testimony is what stands. Not, I'm sorry, if the wife is contradicting someone's testimony,
matter of fact,
case is closed.
As I said, we can end with the other point about the shopkeeper.
Yeah, what about him?
Contradicting Mr. Brown as well. Because Tarnoon asked him, we'll post that video, Tarnoon asked him, you know about Afroo OoNoo, but what about Nuwaupu? He said, I never heard of Nuwaupu.
With it, man. You have a picture with the guy?
All right, listen. This man of Nuwaupu is out here with Royal of the original A&B bookstore, now called Official Connection. He's making the distinction that Afroo OoNoo and Dr. York are not the same person. All right, according to Roy, he's saying that Afroo OoNoo passed away and that his wife, Joy, has a lot of books that's unfinished, and we're in the process of trying to get in contact. Just for the record, Roy, please let them know that according to you, from your own eyes.
Yeah, I met him over and over. I met him, he used to bring the books almost every month. He come to the store and bring and get paid and...
Right, and so...
Like he used to do him too. He used to do the book himself too.
Right.
Type it up.
Right. So Afroo OoNoo and Dr. York are two different individuals.
Two different people.
Okay, according to the one who's you've been knowing, how long you been knowing Afroo OoNoo before he passed?
Yeah, I know him about just around 15 years.
All right, 15 years. So we just, for the record, someone who actually met with the man and his wife said they are two different people. I don't know what y'all gonna do with that. I'm just here to bring the fact. That's it. We got another exclusive. All right. Royal has just confirmed that the voice on the tape is Afroo OoNoo. Nuwaupu and Afroo OoNoo is the same person, right? Correct?
Well, I know about Afroo OoNoo.
As far as the voice on the tape.
As far as the voice on the tape, that's Afroo OoNoo.
Okay, and he used the name Nuwaupu on that. On that. So that's another name he was using.
Maybe that's another name he used.
Okay, so all right.
I don't know about that one.
All right, but he's saying the voice is on the tape is Afroo OoNoo. He says he's not sure about the name Nuwaupu. Roy ain't got no reason to lie. This is the original
I know
one.
that voice from, I've been dealing with him for a long time.
Okay, Nuwaupu, aka Afroo OoNoo, voice is the same. He's not fair. He said he can't say about the name, but the voice is the same.
Afroo OoNoo, that's the name I know him by.
Right. I wish we had the book out here, but he have it on there. But if you read it, he'll tell you. He'll tell you.
It could be it's the same person too.
Right.
I don't know, but the name I know him by is Afroo.
Okay, so that's been verified.
paragraph 2. Listen to reason. The reader of this correct information is Nuwaupu, and I am one of the chief representatives of Afroo OoNoo.
Never heard of it. So somebody don't know. Some facts missing. Some information missing.
And Miss Brown, she might have thought her husband was that. Maybe he kept that from her. Who knows? Maybe he let her to think he is Afroo OoNoo. Who knows? That's not uncommon, especially. I'll say this, right, and then we'll move on. I'll say this, right. This was something back as when we were Ansars with the master, where the master was given when he set up the Sufi order. When the master set up the Sufi order, basically, and was giving the brothers the information, and he said, "Do not." The master like, "Do not give this to your mates. Do not give this to your mates." You know, brothers did. They started telling their mates about it. You know, and so the master like shut it down. Since you guys couldn't keep this sacred and secret, he shut it down. So obviously, for whatever reason, the master teacher didn't want to be known. He didn't want to be known. He put out in a pseudonym. So again, it could be a scenario like that where Mr. Brown really didn't share it like that. Could have led his wife to think something. I don't know. We don't know. We're only speculating. Mr. Brown's not here to defend himself. So all you have is Mr. Brown's word. And that's all we can go with, is what he had to say on the subject matter. And then when you look at all the facts we put up, it should be clear.
Checkmate! Checkmate!
So, again, support what we do, NoopooH.org. Become a member of NoopooCC.com, right? Thumbs up if you love our video. And let's keep it moving.
Don't believe me. Be amazed. Check it out. Or better yet, come out the maze and find out.
Next checkmate.